Recording. Okay, cool. Yeah, so just like with the follow-ups, I really like it to just kind of go where it needs to go. I don't know if you took notes or if there's any
I
questions.
did.
Okay, perfect. That's my favorite. Yeah, so
I
just
did take notes. Yeah.
get that Libra
Go. You can.
rising.
You can go ahead and. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You can go ahead and start
Well,
talking. I'm gonna pull those notes
well,
out.
yeah. I mean, you have Uranus and Mercury. That's awesome. That's like a really, really amazing aspect. Very genius energy, to be honest.
Oh, but you know.
Yeah, no, it's a really I was thinking about research yesterday and I've seen like, a few indicators of intelligence in astrology. One is obviously the Cazimi. It's like when Sun and Mercury are within point 17, every single person that I know, including me, because I have that, but like every single person that I've come across as, because Zimi has an IQ of over 140. So I was like, if I did it, but then also it's like 29-degree Mercury. But then someone else in this group I was in said, what about Mercury conjunct Uranus? That's also a big one for intelligence. I think it was a different astrologer who said that. So that's what you have, and it really creates a genius mind that thinks outside the box. And the fact that it's in Scorpio, it's like you can go really, really deep and really intense, but then also be outside the box, because sometimes Scorpio Mercury get a little bit too boxed in.
Yeah.
But when you have Uranus, it's just like this very, like, you can get downloads. You ever get downloads, like flashes of intuition that you're like, how the fuck did I know that?
Yeah. Sometimes I do. I wish
Yeah,
I had more of that. Like almost like a psychic or like a mediumship ability. But
you do.
since
It's in your
yes, it's a
chart.
it's a skill that you can hone, right? It's like a
Yeah.
thing that you
It's a
practice.
it's a muscle. It's a muscle, and you have Uranus activated by Mercury, and you have Neptune on your Sun. So you 1000% have it. You just have to, and your Moon is on the midheavens, a nice placement for the Moon. Like I wish I had that, because Moon on the midheaven creates someone that is really, really well liked by the public. So if you were ever doing, let's say you were doing like big time kind of social media type stuff, um, moon midheaven people, they tend to be like, it's the moon, so the public tends to see them in like a very, almost like they're part of their own family. Like everyone can kind of look at you and get this feeling that, like, very grounding feeling. You know what I mean? It's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I took like 10 pages of notes. Your reading was so thorough. I mean, like there's so I mean, I didn't really have like a lot of questions so much because I feel like you went so deep into everything that there wasn't a whole lot of vague information, right?
Yeah.
Um it was one thing you said that was interesting that I had not really heard before was the is it a quincrux
Quincunx,
between
yeah.
the Sag and Cancer? So the
Yeah,
sun
yeah,
and Sag.
yeah.
I had
Yeah,
not
that's
heard of
huge.
or like they don't have anything in common with each other or nothing to do
Yeah.
with each
So
other.
so think of it like this. It's like signs that are square, there's like a tension, right? When they're three signs away, there's an inner tension. Like me, I'm a Pisces Sag. There's like it's a more of an obvious tension, right, between the two. They're very different. Opposition, they're opposite. It's the same energy, but opposite. Mika, don't you get close to my TV, Mika? Go watch her. Mika, she like knows exactly how to make me mad. Okay. Yeah. So oppositions, it's like, it's the opposite energy. It's the same energy. It's more obvious. So quincunx, and I only talk about it if it's like exact degree like yours, right? Or like a degree or 2 degrees. Mika, get away or you're locked in my room. Stop, Mika. I don't know how secure I put the TV on. You're not gonna break this expensive ass TV. Hey, look at this cat. She's just like waiting for it to go and break this new TV. Way too big. And it would kill her too. It would fall on her. Mika, come on, just sit on my lap. Yeah, so a quincunx, it's like its sun and moon are five, like when they're 5 signs away, there's not even that like they just don't know shit about each other. It's like can I cuss by the way? Is the kids around?
Oh,
I don't
you're
need.
good. Go ahead. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, just tell me when to
Oh, yeah,
not.
I'll put my earbuds in when I'm driving my son, so it's all good.
Okay, I don't need to cuss, but yeah.
Well, they have filthy mouths anyway. They're teenagers, and I'm like, oh my god,
Okay.
what kind of people am I raising? But whatever.
Yeah, well,
It's
your
a sign
best.
of intelligence, though, so there's that.
Yeah. I mean, if you yeah, have you ever done charts for your kids? Super interesting.
I mean, I have their charts in my little, app, but I've never had a professional reading for their charts.
Yeah,
So,
it's a
I'll use my amateur skills. I'll be like, so kids, let's talk about your rising sign. You're like, oh my God.
yeah. No, it's really fascinating, the kid stuff for sure. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so with the quincunx, it's like, yeah, 5 signs away. They, like what does Cancer and Sag have to do with each other? Like think about it. Like imagine those two sides of yourself. Like how do they even, how do you feed both mouths, the adventurous Sag? But also we can't forget that the fact that you have Neptune on your sun, that is, by the way, I think 80 or 90% of my Capricorn clients that come to me, Capricorn sun, they have Neptune on their sun. And it's because Neptune is Pisces. So even though you're a Sag, it's like you're kind of like a Sag slash Neptune's like, which is Pisces, right? So it's
Yeah.
like we have to always remember that um that's gonna make that easier. Because if you're a Sag slash Pisces per se, right? Obviously you're still Sag, but a Sag with Neptunian influence, Neptune and Cancer get along very well. But I think just, from like the quincunx angle, I think there can be a lot of anxiety that can come from, having these two very different parts that just don't know. There's not much resolution. It's just like give each, find a way to kind of give each what they need, I guess, right?
Oh yeah. I even feel like especially in the past, well, ever since my kids have been born, like the Sag, like adventurous, aspect, like that's just been totally washed out by the Cancer. Like I don't even
Yeah.
I feel like maybe it's coming back a little bit now that they're older and I'm able to like do more stuff on my own and be a little bit less trapped feeling. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's feel very stifled. Like you'd have to be very intentional about like feeding that, right? It's not, it doesn't come as naturally, which seems so I mean, there are other aspects of it, like the optimism and, the interest in like, philosophy and stuff like that. But I don't know, like I have a hard time relating to it, like as my sun sign. Like I
I
want
think
to, because
I think that's because of Neptune, because Neptune it can kind of cloud everything.
okay,
And um, people with Neptune on their sun are very spiritual people. They're really,
yeah,
really, they have this ability, as we stated, to become like very good at anything like astrology. Like you just sort of know things, super compassionate. But the reason why it's so good that you found astrology and spirituality is because sometimes Neptune on their sun, like you take in so much of the energy around you, and there can be like let's say you took like a route that was completely like all about real estate, business, stocks, or something like that, right? Like no spirituality. I
yeah.
feel like, not not that you couldn't be successful at it, but I think that when you have Neptune um on your sun, it can make things a little bit more confusing in the sense that you want to spirituality helps you kind of define yourself, and there can be kind of a identity crisis. I don't know if that ever happened to you, like
Oh,
really
really?
like not knowing like who you are, like kind of that feeling of like who am I, and that
Oh,
maybe
I feel.
that
Uh, yeah, can you hear me? I just put my
yeah,
earbuds
yeah.
in. Okay. Oh, 100%. I went through this really bad identity crisis about 7 years ago, like, oh my, late 30s. Oh my God, it was horrible. And it wasn't so much about that. It was just just general like, oh my God, how did I end up here? What am I doing with my life? Like, I have no idea like what the meaning of any of this is, and I totally crashed. Like it was horrible. It was horrible.
What
But
age?
yeah,
What
I
age? What age did you say?
that started when I was about 36,
Mm.
and I finally
Okay.
came out of it about really started to come well, I don't know that I'm 100% out of it, but like I'm like it really resolved basically about 3 years ago. I had to get
Yeah.
sober, like all that stuff, you know.
All that fun
Um
stuff.
oh, I totally crashed and burned. Like my marriage almost fell apart. Like it was horrible. Like everything. It was just absolutely disastrous. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Neptune will do that. Like, I swear, I need to make a video about this. Like, Neptune gets like this, like, because it's like, divine feminine. Like, um, it's not talked about that way, but it is. Neptune is the divine feminine. It's the higher octave of Venus. Um, because like it's interesting actually. I should really like write about this or something because I feel like Pluto gets this like reputation of being, the big destroyer and like it's well documented how intense Pluto is, right? Which is
Yeah.
Pluto, I guess, I don't know. The point is like there's a darkness to Pluto that we get. Neptune, it's like it's like feminine, but it can still fuck you up. Like I'm going through Neptune transits now, and like it's way more subtle. It's kind of interesting. It's almost like how like like a masculine way of of fucking someone up is like just tearing their life apart, right? But then like the
Yeah.
feminine Neptunian, it's more subtle, right? And it's little small things feeling off, right? Um,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
but
It's I feel like that way constantly.
yeah, and I wonder, I'm thinking that the timing probably, well, hmm, let me think actually for a second, because it could have been when Neptune was opposite your sun by transit when all this started. I wouldn't be surprised. I think I lost you there. Do you hear me? Hello, hello, hello. Okay. All right.
Oh.
Is it working?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay, cool. Sorry about that.
no problem. What were we saying? What were we saying? Yeah,
What we
so
were talking about.
yeah, so I think I'm not sure, but I would guess that it was pretty close to when Neptune was opposite your sun that all this
Yeah.
started to happen. Timing sounds pretty good. So yeah, I that's just how it is. But it did it push you into isolation also?
Well, I was isolated because we moved to a new state and I had no friends, no community whatsoever. All I had was my kids and my husband. And that's what the issue was. Like, I was like, oh my God, I am in this new place. I know nobody. I have no identity outside of being a mom and a wife. And what the hell have I done? Like, how has, like, I, what am I besides that? Nothing. And it like totally just sent me into this extremely dark place.
Yeah, that
And I didn't know how
sounds
to
like Neptune.
cope with
Sounds like
it.
Neptune.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah. So I just completely just like I just hit bottom. I just drinking and crazy behavior and
Yeah.
all kinds of bad stuff. But yeah, I mean, I've come out of it, thank God, because it was horrible.
You know,
It really was.
I think honestly, what happened was that Pluto would have the first one would have been Pluto would have been opposing your moon, which some say is the most difficult transit in all astrology.
Yeah.
And then and then Neptune opposite Sun. So you had those two like kind of back to back. I don't know the timing, but I know the Pluto one would have been first, but yeah, that's like the great destroyer, and then the Neptune one is like the great questioner, identity
Well, they
crisis.
were. Yeah. Well, it started about 2015.
2015. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's A's. Yeah,
In
probably. Yeah.
2016, yeah, like around then, and then it went on, and then shit really hit the fan in 2019, right before COVID. But then it's like, once you hit bottom, that's an opportunity for you to bounce back up, right?
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
so then that's what happened, and so ever since then, it's been just getting better and better. So thank God.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I don't have any more bad stuff coming up.
You passed
But
a
if I
lot of
do,
tough stuff.
go
We'll
ahead.
see. We'll see in the transits when we look at all that. But I'll
Yeah.
be able to kind of like go back in time too. But
Okay.
a lot of your stuff's kind of mid degrees, late degrees. So, well, what's Uranus doing to you right now? Let's see. Well, let's deal with that after. But yeah, on the natal, what else like kind of stood out? Yeah, just like
Uh,
of whatever I said because I have no idea what I said.
Oh yeah, no. Well, I've got 8 pages of information. You know, about like my mother, totally true. Um, like mama drama stuff with my mother. That was right. And then you talked a lot about the artistic. My artistic is very, very strong.
Yeah.
I'm not like a professional artist or anything, but it's that's always something that's been. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, it's a little faint, but yeah, I can hear you. But yeah, you're saying about, I didn't I wasn't able to hear much of. I think you were talking about Pluto's square moon with your mother. What were you saying about that? I couldn't really hear too much. Now I think it's muted. Yeah, I can't hear anything. I think maybe you hit mute, perhaps.
Let's see.
Now I hear you. Now I hear you.
Oh, hang on just a second. Hang on, sorry. Sorry for all these transitions. Can you hear me right now?
Yeah, now it's good. Now it's the best then. But
Okay.
yeah,
Sorry
I
about
I
that.
I was asking about like the moon square Pluto because I couldn't really hear what you were saying, like with the mother, because that's always a big one. I see that with tons of clients and curious about that.
Yeah, my mother she's borderline personality disorder, like
Yeah.
really mean, really crazy. Always has been, not just to me, but like to everybody. So, I had to stop talking to her. I had to cut
Wow.
her out 3 years ago, which is part of the reason probably why things have been so much better for me.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, honestly, we were talking about that yesterday, just about energetic cords and boundaries, and with this new moon, right? Coming up, that's like a big theme too. Is I don't know if you saw my video, but it's really the astrology is very lined up for boundaries and kind of getting rid of those types of people. And it sucks that it's your mom, but it's like maybe what if that was part of what if that was part of the karmic lesson? You know what I mean?
yeah. Jesse, I'm really sorry. I'm going back out to my car because I left one of my Bluetooth
No, you're good. You're good.
pieces
You're good.
out there. So
Okay.
just grab
Mika, Mika, Mika,
Okay,
Mika.
great.
No, hey,
All right, this
perfect.
is better. Okay.
Yeah. So
All
yeah,
right.
that's yeah, that I don't know what I said in the reading, but yeah, the moon square Pluto, I see it so much, and there's a reason that people with spiritual gifts have these difficult karmic relationships with their mother, and a lot of it is about you ending this like this traumatic cycle in the bloodline. So I want to congratulate you because I can tell you've done a lot of work, and I always tell people this, like imagine it was your grandma, your mom's mom, was she similar or was she
No, she was the opposite. She was very
really
nice. Very, yeah.
interesting?
Yeah, I know. It is interesting. It's like my mom is like the weird, I don't know. Nobody else in my family has this problem but her. So I don't know what it is. Now, I've had therapists tell me that even though my grandmother is nice, it's almost like she enabled my mom to the
Yeah,
point.
that's what I was feeling. I was like, I wonder, like what role
Yeah,
she could have played.
yeah, it was just the enabler, just not like not she was not like honest about, like, she was, it was so painful for her that she just sort of blocked it and just like ignored it, and
Yeah,
therefore it just like went unchecked for so long, and it just got worse and worse, and it's still getting worse and worse as my mom gets older, which is why I can't talk to her anymore. So so
yeah,
I
the
think that's,
boundaries so important,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. So yeah.
that's not easy for a South Node Pisces also because especially with the Libra, boundaries are never going to be something that's easy, but you can tell that as you're trying to grow spiritually. Like I didn't release this video for some reason, but I was talking about that especially as a Sag like yourself, right? Like there's this feeling of needing to believe like anything is possible. And when people kind of come in and they have very self-limiting beliefs, like I feel like those are the people, even if they're subtle, the people that don't believe in the magic, like I don't know, I feel like we have to make boundaries with people like that. Um doesn't mean like, we don't talk to them at all. Like in some, it just depends case per case. Like I totally agree with your mom that I'm sure you did all you could, and it is what it is.
Yeah, that's true. I guess the other thing that stands out is I have a few planets in Virgo,
Yeah.
which actually, as I get older, I feel like maybe I should be a Virgo. Like maybe that should be my sun sign because not that I just feel like I naturally do very well when I embrace Virgo qualities. Like I'm finding like I really like structure, like following like a structured routine, being organized. Like I've always naturally like been a very organized person.
That's your
Um
sixth house south node
um yeah, but it's
and the Mars in
if
Virgo.
if if, if I if I if I get off of that, like if I do not stay on top of that stuff, I am very, very unhappy. And I don't
Yeah.
like who likes that? Like who likes setting their alarm at this time and doing that, right? But like
I
I just
agree. I'm the same way. I totally know what you're saying. Like like you want things to be in a certain order, and that's your North nodes in Virgo. So you're supposed to be like that. It's about that
I
balance
know.
between the physical and the spiritual, but also, health, right? Health, your routine, all that stuff is supposed to be locked in so that you can be your best self, and achieve all the goals in your natal chart.
Yeah. So yeah, so I feel like I really need to like really dive into the Virgo because it's just going to serve me very well. I'm really getting a sense of that at this time in my life. If I stray away from that, it's not positive for me.
Yeah, definitely. Some I don't necessarily believe this, but I've heard people talk about how your 12th house is, your past is really connected to your past life energy. I don't know. I don't have if I believe that or not, but I've heard that before. So, your Virgo is your 12th house, so maybe, and your North Node's there, Mars, Jupiter, Black Moon, Saturn. So yeah, there's a lot going on in that 12th house. And I wonder how, perfectionism, what comes up when I say that word for you.
Oh, oh yeah. I mean, at this point in my life, I've let that go a lot, but that's what served me so well up through my 30s. I mean, it was like this perfectionism, like I did everything perfectly. I was overachiever, like everything had to be done just so. I got a lot of recognition for it. Um like I just if I didn't do it perfectly, I just didn't do it, basically, was how that worked. And
Yeah.
that's also part of the reason why I had this little like midlife identity crisis, because I wasn't doing anything to achieve.
Yeah.
Like I had nothing to prove myself to anybody else. And so that's why I crashed. When you're not getting like recognition for something, you're not working on anything and showing everyone how great you are because it's so perfect, right? So then you crash
Yeah,
and
definitely.
you question your entire life. So yes, yes, that's very familiar. Very.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the challenge with Virgo Mars is really the camera even okay, yeah, it's working. Yeah, that's just one of the challenges of Mars in the 12th also. Like it can be, it's really really service oriented, spirituality oriented, because it can create what's the word, like it can self-sabotaging behavior. I've seen that a good amount with 12th house Mars. The good thing is that you have Jupiter with your Mars, so that's an amazing combination. um Having those two together in the 12th, because it really makes it so you're able to understand your actions, you're able to have a perspective on your perfectionism potentially. um and Jupiter and Virgo, yeah, I just don't see how anyone with that would be able, like, I think health would be so important. mental health, physical health, routine, all that stuff. But the fact that it's in the 12th, it's also a gift because it's spiritual protection. Jupiter in the 12th house. So you're protected. You have a malefic and a benefic in the 12th. You have Saturn and Mars. So if you didn't have Jupiter there, I'd be telling you to do all kinds of like spiritual protections. But having Jupiter there is a real lifesaver for your chart, because if you had, just Mars
Oh, that's
and
interesting.
Mars and
Hmm.
Saturn in the 12th together, like that's rough. But Jupiter's like, I'm gonna help you, and there'll still be some difficult karmic aspects, but when I say like being of service, what comes to mind for you? Because 12th house is really about service and also spirituality, spiritual relationship with yourself. But I imagine that that's been like a big part of your life.
I'm sorry, did you say service?
Service slash like just your spiritual journey, like the
Oh,
spiritual relationship with
to
yourself.
yes, totally. Huge. Yeah, huge. I mean, I grew up in a very religious family, go to church every Sunday, do all the church things, super involved in the church, and then I have grown, like evolved out of that. Like I don't do the church thing anymore, and I don't subscribe to any one religious belief. And this has been a process that has taken, I mean, well, decades at this point. So, but it's always been in the background, I guess you could say. It's always been sort of the basis for how I've lived my life and how I've even defined myself. So
Yeah,
yeah, so that's very true. And in terms of service, yeah, I don't feel myself when I'm not in doing some form of service. I just feel like as a human, that's part of my responsibility is to be of service to other people. So yeah.
totally. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, like it's so that's basically how I think when you have a 12th house like you do, if you take a life that's more ego, like all about me, all about, that kind of energy, I think that things would get really difficult. Because the 12th house, it really pushes you to really merge with with all that is, and um it really does. Excuse me. There's definitely a lot of fate also, with a all like anything 12th house, like there's a bunch, like even like a 12th house Saturn, it can create all kinds of like limitations one might feel around spirituality. Was it till like after your 30s that you really really got deep into it, or was it before?
It was around 30
Yeah, so
because
after
I
the
really
turn.
started, yeah, I really started questioning, like, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with Christianity. I just never really agreed with everything I was taught. And, I guess when you are brought up in a certain tradition, a certain religion, and you're just fed this information, you believe it. You just believe
Yeah,
it. You just go
yeah,
with
yeah,
it. And then it was in my late 20s that I was like, wait a second. I don't know. And then once I hit my 30s, I felt comfortable enough and confident enough in myself to define my own beliefs. I did not have to automatically believe everything that I had been taught,
yeah.
and I felt comfortable enough then to sort of forge my own path and my own belief system, independent of the religious dogma that had been forced upon me. So,
It's interesting because Sagittarius it's a very religious sign. Um,
yeah.
they just work well together, religion and Sag. But then you
Mhm.
have, we can't forget you have, this Mercury Uranus conjunction. I feel like there would always be a part of you that would probably sense like, because like I have nothing against Christianity, um, or any religion, right? Like I just, I just don't like when they think that their way is the only way, you know? Because I
And
think there's a lot.
that's exactly, yeah, that's exactly why I broke away from that, was because of that. And also because religion is paired so often with conservative politics, which kind of contradicts the teachings of Jesus. I mean, really? And I was just like, what? Like, no way. I can't identify with this group of people anymore. Like, I
Yeah.
don't agree with what they're saying. And so anyway, so yeah,
Yeah, I feel you for sure.
exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting. Because like, yeah, I was just like, you know, with these cats, like random example, like my girlfriend's grandparents were like making jokes about like, not like hurting the cats, but like, you know, like they were kind of just like being kind like she has like a rabbit over there. Basically, they're just being like like kind of non-empathetic around like the animals. And like I kind of said something like my girlfriend was really upset. I was like, it's kind of funny how they call themselves like really religious people, and then they, you know, they say shit like, you know, that they're gonna, you know, cook her bunny for dinner, like as a joke,
Yeah.
but it's like it's not fucking funny, you know? And I don't know,
Yeah.
I just find it interesting how like a lot like, you know, spirituality, like it sets you up for like, and that's what I think, you know, Christ, not to get too deep, but I think that like if Christ was here, or you know, God, whatever, I think that that's God would say, do what, you know, you need to find your own version, right? I think that's what God would say. Um, so I don't know, I just find it interesting that um, you know, so many religious people are just way off in this sense.
Yeah. I saw this meme just the other day, and uh, it was like a picture of Jesus talking to some little kid or something. And they were like, Jesus, why didn't my friend make it to heaven? Why is my friend in hell? And Jesus responded, well, his theology was just a little bit off. Right? Like
Yeah,
that's the
exactly.
thing. Like I can't get that. And that's why I'm just, it's that way of thinking, like you must believe this.
Yeah.
And we're going to base it on a book that was written thousands of years ago, has been through how many counts of
Yeah,
revisions and people pulling things
exactly.
out. and and this is what we're basing it on. And if you don't believe it this way and do it exactly like this, then you're going to hell. Even
Yeah,
though
it's
our God
crazy.
is love, is a loving God, but you're still going to hell. Like that just, it makes absolutely zero sense to me. I just can't. And I actually really love the teachings of Jesus in their pure form, not in this like warped version that people try to throw out about exclude certain groups of people, or claims that certain people's way of life is wrong. I just can't. So
Yeah, it's just off because like you're not thinking
yeah.
for yourself. You're not thinking for yourself. Like, you know, it's just like you should have a. I think everyone should have you know, a personal relationship with God and meditate and kind of ponder it on their own. I think that's what you're here to do, and I think it shows in your character. You know, like if you're
Yeah.
if you're a shitty person, and you're going to church, maybe it's not working for some people. You know.
Yeah, exactly. So
But
yeah,
yeah,
so that's the story on that.
yeah, it's interesting. Okay.
So what's up with the south node, the Pisces and the south node? What's up with that?
Well, it's in, so everything's in opposite houses for your Libra rising. So I
Yeah.
always I always say that, you know, South Node in Pisces, North Node in Virgo, you know, you're trying to find the balance between the physical, the material, and the spiritual, metaphysical. And so it's like kind of having one foot in each world, in but one foot in each world. Um but yeah, South Node in Pisces, it's like the past life mystic, you know. And the fact that it's ruled by Neptune, which is on your sun, it just makes me think that, and where there's squares. Yeah, it just makes me think that, you know, because it's opposite Mars and Jupiter, that, you know, probably in past lives, you know, you maybe you weren't able to kind of have the spiritual faith that you wanted. Like maybe there was this dogma pushed on you a little bit. Um, that's just because of the opposition that I would think that, right? So now in this life, you're really, yeah, it's really about through your own, Virgo, like step-by-step process, through your own observations, creating your own kind of version of faith, right?
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
think, yeah, it's just that like for North Node and Virgo people, like things like your physical health, your mental health, your routine, like all these things you're talking about, like those are actually there's spiritual, those are spiritual goals, right? Because sometimes South Node and Pisces people, they can lack boundaries, they can be too much in the dream world, not enough in the, in the physical. So it's really about finding that balance,
Okay.
Yeah.
See,
And then
I'm looking.
even your sun being in the third house, it's interesting too, because it does really speak to, third house is Gemini. So it's like there is a part of you that also Sag Gemini, that balance is between, like, Gemini is the part that goes out and finds the information. It's like the journalist, our own, like, each of our own inner journalists per se. Sagittarius is tying all these little bits of pieces of data or research that you find in life and tying them to like grand philosophies that you live your life based off of. So that's
Yeah,
another theme.
that rings true for sure.
Yeah. Because it's important for you to not to go out and to really test things, to not just like believe blindly. It's really important as a third house sun to communicate with lots of people, different cultures, different worldviews, and yeah, just kind of like finding truth. That's the Sagittarian way, is it's all about truth.
Yeah. Tell me, I have Venus on the IC. What's the IC again?
It's a really good placement. It rules your kind of little childhood, but also your internal self, like your
Okay.
unconscious. So, having that there usually indicates for most people, but then you have the quincunx of sun and moon, uh, it usually indicates a good childhood. Um,
Yeah. I did have a good childhood. I mean, my mother was crazy, but my childhood was still good. I mean, she was sort of like a Jekyll and Hyde. So when she
yeah,
was good, it was great. And then she'd like go into her Jekyll mode and it wasn't,
yeah.
but yeah.
Well, what's really good about it being right on the IC is that it kind of it's like this real people with that, they have this real sense of like internally, like on a deep level, they can be they're usually very quite happy people. Like it's like quite optimistic and able to see like the kind of glass half full per se. So it's a really good karmic aspect for sure, because like during dark times, having Venus on the IC, that individual will be able to kind of see the lighter side of life, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you've got like moon opposite Pluto. Whatever the hell that thing was.
Yeah, yeah. Tough transits are gonna
Okay.
always be tough, but
Yeah, right. Okay.
what can you do? But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a nice placement.
Okay.
But when it comes to like research and stuff, like are you someone that like when you really want to learn about something, you just go full in?
Um, I would say the desire to do that is strong. I I used to be more that way. It's become more difficult with my kids. It's
Yeah.
because I feel like I have they take up so much time and energy that
Hmm.
I have had to put some of my own personal goals aside. So I haven't done that to the degree that maybe I would like to in the past like 10 years. But I feel like it's emerging. I'm now that they're a little bit older, I'm able to do some more of that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
before that I definitely did.
even like with the parenting, like your moon in Cancer on the midheaven, like that could quite literally speak to the importance of you as a mother, like, and that being such a massive part of your dharma. Um, like everyone has a different, dharma, like what they're meant to do. People get it twisted about the midheaven. They think it's like, oh, it's always career, always career. It's like, yeah, it can be career, but some people like like they're meant to be mothers. They're meant to,
Yeah.
and then that can also be, the midheaven with the moon. It could definitely be someone who is in like a caring profession, but it could also just be someone who really was meant to be a really, to have, motherhood be like a massive part of their life, right?
Oh, it is 100%. Like, and I've kind of struggled with that. That's part of the whole identity crisis thing too, because I felt like it was so overwhelmingly a part of my life to the point where I did feel like trapped and loss of identity outside of that, which I found very unfulfilling. And I mean, don't get me wrong, like I like being a mother. I feel like I'm really good at it very naturally, but at the same time, like I get a little like I have this big creative need to create and do things. And when you're just like mothering kids all the time, it's especially when they're little, it's darn near impossible to do that. And that can be really, really frustrating.
Yeah, and that's right there. That's the Sag Cancer quincunx, right? That's the Sag.
Yeah, it's
The Sag part is the voice, that wants to do those things, but then the Cancer part is the mother. You see, so
yeah.
it's really
But
about like using parts work and like identifying, the Sag part and the Cancer part, and it's like how to give. Of course, there's gonna be times in your life where you have to, be full on mother, right? But it's like
yeah, yeah.
Sag is about adventure. It's about learning. So it's just yeah, it's just about figuring out how to kind of intertwine both of those into your life.
Yeah, and that's sometimes hard. But now that they're getting older, I mean, my oldest is 16, my youngest is 10. So, it's like I'm not like totally overwhelmed at all times in just like kids. But it's also a little, I don't know, it feels uncertain to me because I have dedicated so much of myself just to mothering. So like, as soon as my first was born, I abandoned career to be a stay-at-home mom. And now I'm like, well, now what?
Yeah,
you know now what do I do with myself? I mean, obviously my mothering job isn't over, but it's a lot different than it was
yeah,
even 3 years ago. I mean, just it's different. So that's a little bit troubling to me, is like looking into the future and trying to see how I spend my time and energy once like my kids are out of the house, which really won't be. I mean, that's right around the corner.
Hmm. Is there
So
anything that
yeah.
calls out to you?
Well, I'm actually I am in school. I started a program in digital design a couple of years ago,
That's awesome.
which I love. I love it. I mean, I don't know right now exactly. It's not like I want to work for a company and be their graphic designer. Like I don't have like a specific goal like that, which also is it was also part of like my whole identity crisis. Like I have always been very good at knowing what I wanted, and like once I know what I want, I can go get it. I have
Yeah,
no issue meeting goals. Like I know how to do it. But I'm sort of at the time in my life where I don't like the goals are so uncertain, vague. Like I'm having a hard time putting my finger on something specific. And earlier in my life, like things would just like pop out at me, like, oh, that is what I want to do. Yes. And I would go do it. But now things just aren't popping like that anymore. I'm not exactly sure why.
mm,
And that's kind of frustrating, you
yeah,
know. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I still I mean, I've still got these kids living in my house, and I have a hard time really taking the plunge into, like, I guess something that's uncertain or risky, because I have this mothering thing I'm gonna fall back on because they still need me,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's like I'm not allowing myself to do it because I've got all these people that are so needy still. So I don't know.
Well,
I'm
I
trying not
think,
to stress out too much about it.
yeah, I mean, I think like just going with what feels right. It feels like what you're doing now, if you enjoy it and you're good at it, I think that, I think that that's all you can really do. And I think maybe it's those transits that you went through that kind of kind of changed you in a way where, like Neptune will definitely like just change your ego forever, in the sense that, what might have been important to you before, you start to really question it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And then
So yeah, I'm
you're
trying not to stress too much, and I'm trying to go with the flow and trust that the right things will come at the right time.
yeah.
But when you haven't really lived your life that way, in the past, like in the past when things just like I was just, I don't know, I don't want to say manifested. They just like appeared, uh, and then I would just go do it. I don't know. I'm just trying to be trusting in the universe that it's going
Well,
to
I
be
mean,
fine.
I talk to a lot of people, and that's a big theme right now with most people I talk to be honest.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it does seem like the world's changing, and that, people are evolving, and through that evolution, it's like, okay, I always talk about the physical versus the metaphysical value. um and wanting to do something that, that really has value, for more spiritual goals as well.
Yeah. Right, that's the other thing too. Like I don't want to do something that's empty feeling,
Yeah.
superficial. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm not gonna stress. Like I said, I'm just observing. I'm observing myself
Yeah. Well, I think
and
that,
trying
I
to be
mean,
cool with it.
with the whole artistic thing, I think that career would be very good, and that's a goal in itself. I think the Virgo energy would be very happy doing something like that.
Oh, I love it. It's one of those things where, when I do that, time disappears. You know that
Hmm.
you're enjoying something when time disappears, when you get into that flow state. And that's 100% true for me with that. So, um, I'm just gonna keep, I'm just gonna continue down that road and see
Definitely.
where it goes. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What else did you have written down in the notes?
Hades moon. Now that I was not familiar with before. That's
Yeah.
the moon square Pluto? That's what a Hades moon is.
Yeah, moon conjunct or square, like Pluto
Okay.
affecting the moon. And yeah, everything that
Okay.
you talked about with your mom, um, it's just that transformation, that emotional, death, rebirth transformation. People with that, they're kind of here for a big reason, and they're sometimes it feels like they're forced into this like transformation. That's not always pretty. But all the themes that you laid out about your mom, I think that that's exactly, what a lot of the experience is with Pluto Moon. It's dealing with,
Yeah.
a mother that sometimes can be intrusive and difficult to deal with. There's a whole, number of different scenarios, but yeah, I think
Yeah, I have
getting
written down, you said sometimes linked to a difficult birth or not wanting to incarnate again. My mom did have a difficult birth with me, and I had this very interesting experience. Do you know who Dr. Brian Weiss is? He's done work on
Yeah,
past
yeah,
life
yeah. No,
regression.
I love him.
Okay.
I read his book, everything. Love that
Are
guy.
awesome, right? Really, really interesting. I went to a workshop that he led. This was back in like 2010 or something. This was years ago. And he led, and it was like in this hotel ballroom, there were like 200 or 300 people, very full room. And he led us through this past life regression hypnosis exercise, which at that time I had never been hypnotized.
Mm.
So I didn't know like what hypnosis was. And so he's doing this, and I have this, I'll put it in quotes, like regression. Because you don't know, like for me, in those situations, I don't know if it's just my imagination.
Yeah, I know. I'm the same way. It's so tough, I
Right.
think. Yeah.
I'm like, am I making this up right now? Or what is this like a real thing? But the regression was all about me being born, and I was not wanting to do it. Like,
Interesting.
no way. I do not want to be born. I am pissed off about this right now. Very unhappy. Like I feel like emotional right now. I was like sobbing in this hotel ballroom, having
Yeah.
this, well, I wasn't sure if it was just like my imagination or what it was, but
That's how you
when
know
you
it's
said
real.
that, well, yeah, it was wild. But when you said that, that reminded me of that experience because it was so I mean, it was just bizarre. Like because
Yeah.
you're questioning your own sanity. Like, am I just totally bullshitting myself right now? Or is this like a real thing, I don't
Yeah.
know. So
Well,
anyway.
well, if you experienced it and it's in the chart, I mean, that's something.
Yeah,
That's
I guess so.
super fascinating. But yeah, that's kind of the thing. It's like, and it just shows that, the Hades Moon people, like they're carrying a lot. Um, and even if like it's not in like your blood, like, your bloodline in this lifetime, it could be a karmic bloodline, Um, it's breaking some type of cycle. So even if your mom's mom wasn't like your mom, it could just be, could really like a lot what can happen a lot of times with this Pluto square moon, if it's not worked through in the right way, is that the person becomes very similar to their mother, you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. And I mean, my grandmother was nice and stuff, and she wasn't mean like my mom, but there were other issues like body image, food stuff. That's just a very old school way of thinking that is passed down, that had really disastrous effects on multiple generations. But I feel like there are so many issues today that culturally we're able to talk about out in the open and resolve,
Yeah.
whether it be body image or sexuality or misogyny type issues, feminism, like all these things that you know even one generation ago were like, you don't talk about that, or there was a certain way of thinking, whereas now people are more open minded and willing to talk about even like things like therapy, like going to therapy,
Yeah.
seeking out
Well,
alternative modes of spirituality like astrology or working with a medium or whatever. um so yeah, I feel like there is definitely some healing that's going on, some
yeah.
generational curse breaking going on for sure.
Yeah. And I think that the boundaries thing with your mom is huge, because I always tell people, like, because some people, they feel like they have to, stay, and like they say, it's my mom, I can't just not talk to her. I'm like, you know at the same time, what are you gaining from having that relationship? You can still wish someone, you can still hold love in your heart for someone and pray for them, this, that, and the third. But sometimes that's the best way for healing. And a lot of people that I talk to will have like a lot of guilt around even creating certain boundaries. And I think it's just really important to know that that you're completely validated, like times a million in that, and that could be the the thing that heals, you know, your kids, to not have that influence, right? So it's just
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, totally. No, thank you for saying that. It's so true. And yes, I have been in therapy for years on this issue. I mean, I could probably write a book about like mom guilt and grieving the loss of somebody who's still alive. Like
Yeah,
it's crazy, like that maternal like link, that mother child or parent child, doesn't even have to be a mom. Like it's so strong, you know. But yeah, ultimately you have to do what ensures that you are mentally healthy. And if that
exactly.
means that you can't talk to another person, especially after you've been through round after round after round of being hurt and then forgiving and then being hurt and then forgiving them and being hurt again,
Yeah.
and you realize it's never going to stop, you have to cut some cords and make some
Yeah, because
decisions to ensure your own health. Yeah.
yeah, because at some point, like, yeah, exactly. Like with those cycles, the back and forth, like it's just insanity, right? To think that something's going to change. But then with people who had this type of psychopathology, whatever you want to call it, when you do actually cut that off, you feel a lot more sane yourself. And then from that sanity, you gain perspective that you may have not had before, which can, lead to healing. But yeah. I mean, you know all about it, as you said. It's not easy, but a lot of people have, stuff like this in their families, and it's just like I can feel like for you, like the energetic load being a lot less now than it was, on your
Oh
shoulders and
yeah.
stuff.
Oh,
So
for sure. It's because because before, you're walking on eggshells constantly, constant, and getting no benefit, zero, getting
yeah,
zero benefit from that relationship, nothing positive. It's only negative stuff. So why hang on to that just because you came out of this person's vagina
yeah.
and they raised you like that because of that? I mean, thank
Exa-
you. Thank you. I'm grateful for what you did, but you no longer do anything positive for me. So,
Yeah, and now you have kids, so it's like the stakes are higher, way higher.
absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. I seriously, I could tell you so many stories. I could write a book about this. It's mind-boggling how some people act, but
yeah.
anyway, we won't go into that.
Well, you also have this like really amazing grand trine with Venus, Chiron, and Jupiter/Mars. And I think and they're in water houses. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's a lot like people who have that can be so gifted at healing. Because when you have Chiron with Venus, and then with Jupiter, it's like you're a gifted healer, like just by nature, and even having that South Node in Pisces, it really gives someone an ability to know how, and a Cancer moon, all these things, regardless of whether it's your career or not, but really knowing how to put people at ease.
I'm writing this down.
Yeah, it's a gift. Yeah, the Grand Trine. I mean, so and it's very, it's very good for water houses. So for understanding the depth, feeling, being able to put into words what and kind of pick up on things. But then the fact that it's in Earth, that's the superpower, because that makes it so, for example, a lot of people are really gifted at healing and empaths and all that, but they'll take on too much of other people's shit. So
Hmm.
when you have all this earth, it's giving you the ability to kind of create boundaries and to not take home other people's suffering. Like a
Yeah.
lot of people really struggle with that.
Oh yeah, that's really tough. No, I get that. Yeah. Y- Yeah, boundaries, that seems to be something that like a lot one of those issues now that people a lot of people are like almost like a buzzword now, like boundaries, right? It's
Yeah.
all it's everywhere. Boundaries, boundaries. But, good, but good. Boundaries boundaries help.
It's so important because it's like,
Yeah,
yeah, it's just a word, right? But it's like, you know, as more people are evolving and others aren't, like, what do you do to kind of, if someone's bad for your growth and you determine that your growth is the most important thing because it's the, it's the foundation for everything else. That's all you can do is create those and, send love and good energy to people. But, I'm
that's
sure,
right.
yeah, like people like empaths like yourself and myself, like, we've tried everything, like with people who where it just doesn't work. It's like you've tried a million times, as you said. And at the end of the day, you gotta do what's right for you.
Yeah, that's right.
Also, I want to say another
Okay.
thing with Neptune on your sun, um, just the importance of alone time, especially with the 12th house stellium. Just even though you are, it is earth energy, so you are good at, I don't think that you're the kind of person that just would get thrown around like crazy. I mean, yeah, like Neptune on the sun, it does kind of make someone susceptible to bad energies for sure. Um, so I think alone time becomes something that can be very sacred for you. How do you feel about that?
Oh, absolutely. If I don't get it, I get really anxious. I mean, I was an only child, so I had a ton of alone time as a kid, so I'm already used to that. That's,
Yeah,
already that's like how my brain is wired, is to be in solitude.
yeah,
Um, it took a lot of adjusting to having 3 kids because I had no idea the level of noise and chaos
yeah.
that would result from that. And so, yeah, I have to intentionally carve that out for myself. Otherwise, I'm not happy. I'm not a happy camper. So,
No, definitely. Well, that's really important to know because, some like people, and I can still hear him just putting something in the other room.
okay.
People will frown upon like things like this for different people. And, I just see charts of individuals who I'm just like, there's no way that things can work, especially because you have this like Venus on the IC. Like if you were with like a narcissist, for example, like that person would be so jealous of um, how good you are at being alone, how good you are at meeting your own needs, right? Because as a Cancer moon as well, that's another superpower of being a Cancer moon. It's Cancer moons can meet their own emotional needs very, very well. How do you feel about your Cancer moon, like in terms of that? Like, because they say, Cancer moon is the, I don't like saying best or worst, but it is the dignity moon position. Of course, it makes someone very sensitive, but I always tell people like, if you have a Cancer moon, you're going to be able to kind of feel emotions as they come up and deal with them in that way. While some
Yes.
people, like for example, an Aquarius moon, right? Or Gemini moon, right? Air moons in general, like they might like the same thing might come up for like the Cancer moon, the Aquarius moon, and the Cancer moon will cry about it, get move that energy. But they deal with it in that moment. They're very aware of their emotions. How do you feel about that?
Yes, exactly. Yes. I feel like my awareness, I have a lot of, at least I like to think I have a lot of self awareness and I can process things pretty well. Or even if it takes some time, like at least I have an awareness of how to go about doing it. Like I know what the tools are. I know, like I can feel when things are moving through, and even if it takes a little bit, I'm able to do it pretty well and then come out on the other side, and I'm able to look back and be like, yep, that was that thing I was dealing with, but here I am now. And I feel like there's a separation between emotional states that's very obvious to me, I guess you could say. And
Yeah.
in a, very in positive. It's positive. Like, so I feel good about it. I am sensitive, but not to the point where like I have some friends, and I don't know what their moon sign would be, or but who are sensitive in a way that they're offended by everything.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
almost to the point where like they'll make up stories in their head, and they'll be offended by things that other people are doing, and they'll tell me about it, and I'm thinking to myself, why are you upset about that? Like that doesn't actually have anything to do with you. Like you're blowing this out of proportion. So I'm sensitive, but not in that kind of way. Like
Yeah,
if something
that's good.
does happen, yeah, I feel it very deeply. I cry a lot.
That's
I
good
cry all
though.
the time. But it's okay. Like when I was a kid, my mom would always tell me, "Oh, you're too sensitive. You cry," you know. But oh well. Like you
Yeah.
know.
I mean, yeah, because as we know now with psychology, crying is moving the energy. And if you don't,
Yeah.
if you keep it in, what happens? Repression.
Yeah, 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 exactly.
I always compare it to cats, like when they get in fights, they all just like they instinctually like kind of like shake and move, and they kind of like they're like releasing the energy from their body like right away, like on the spot. Like if you see them fighting, for example. And I feel like that's kind of like a high vibe Cancer moon, or just like high vibe emotional person in general, someone with high emotional intelligence. They're able to kind of feel things as they come in the moment and deal with them, so they don't have this like it's like at a restaurant, and it's like paying for each item as you go, as opposed to just getting this massive check and then be like, okay, now I'm gonna feel all these emotions all at once. Never good.
Yeah, nice. Right, right. No. Right, that's true. So no, I feel I'm good. I mean, I don't know any other way anyway, so, you know.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Let's see. And you are married?
Yeah, actually our 20-year wedding anniversary is on the
Ooh,
31st.
congrats.
So yeah, what's that?
What's his big three? Any Cancer in there?
He's a Cancer moon, and he is a Virgo rising and a Pisces sun.
Look at that. So funny how you're like, I don't know. I just see like you see how I said Cancer. Like I swear the Juno placement, like for marriage, that's big. That's a big one. Um, and you have your Juno in Cancer. So
Oh yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, I feel fortunate that he is also very sensitive and deals well with emotion.
yeah, and
It would
that
be really difficult to not to live with somebody who was not good with emotional stuff. I feel like, I mean, I've got friends whose husbands are really like closed off emotionally or deal with things really negatively, and I just don't know that I could live like that.
well, it's awesome.
I just don't think I could.
You guys have the same moon sign. I mean, that's the dream right there, right? Like, to
Apparently
have
so, yeah.
yeah, it is because that's the home. That's instinctually that's what your go to. And then is he August Virgo?
He's a he's a Virgo rising.
Oh wait, what was the sun sign in here? Pisces, Pisces,
Pisces.
Pisces. Okay, got you, got you. Well, that's awesome. So that's very interesting because I wonder, is his birthday the like start of Pisces?
February 26th.
Oh shit. You see, he
What?
falls.
What does that mean?
It means Pat that his sun falls right on your south node. So you're
Oh.
so you guys are that's like some real karmic like love, very karmic. That's amazing. Yeah, I was and maybe even his rising falls on your north node, who knows? So yeah, I mean that's just like showing that you guys have, that you guys have a very karmic,
Oh, that's so
fated,
interesting.
yeah, fated relationship. That's interesting.
Oh,
Um, but yeah, that's great. That's great. So yeah, that fits everything. Let's see what else. Uh, oh yeah, so I think like just with the Virgo energy, I think that's kind of the thing with Black Moon Lilith there. Obviously we talk about the perfectionism. Um, I think people with that like sometimes can be their own worst enemy in terms of being like overly self-critical. And then they can kind of self-implode. But it's, you know, Black and Lilith is not a planet. Remember that. So it's just a potential. So, but you know, having all that Virgo there, having that Mars and Virgo, um, you know, that is what just happened? Hello, hello, hello. I think you're on mute.
Can
Still
you hear
can't.
me?
Now we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. Yeah, no, this is the pickup portion of the baseball transportation. So again, very sorry for the
No problem.
disruption. So
No problem.
okay.
Yeah, so I was just saying, like, always with the Virgo, just being, yeah, just, I think the Venus on the IC helps a lot. I think the Neptune also helps not being overly hard on yourself. But a lot of people with that much Virgo, sometimes they can kind of, yeah, be their very self-critical. Especially if they had
Yeah, very.
a mother that was critical or a father that was very critical. Yeah, that can be difficult. But yeah, yeah, just definitely like lots of healing energy. Chiron in the eighth, it's someone who can really heal the unconscious, people's unconscious, like deep unconscious healing. So I see that all over your chart. But also just that creativity, that expansion. I think that when you bring Sag and Cancer together, you want, and the moon on the midheaven for career, I think wants to be emotionally connected to what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
Yeah, if there's no emotional connection, it doesn't feel worthwhile for
yeah,
me
exactly. And
in some
with
way. Yeah.
Neptune on the sun, with some lights, that's just like so creative. Like it's just people with that, they have this filter of reality that's just very abstract. And I think with the Sag, that's the sign of anything is possible and adventure, and like, it wants so it's really about mixing the groundedness that is needed from, you know, Cancer moons. They do want a level of groundedness. But then the Sag part, I think there's kind of that openness also and that freedom that's needed as well. So I think finding the balance in that in life in general is really important. And of course with Sag too, it's all about learning. Yeah, it's all about higher wisdom, so as long as you're, continuously learning and doing things like going to that seminar, right? That's very Sag, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, love a good seminar.
yeah, and gets that Mercury Uranus going too. So do you meditate also? Very important.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that's
I
great.
do. Yeah.
So yeah, your dream life and meditations will have like prophetic. There can be like, prophetic messages in those. Did you ever dream journal?
I have dream journaled. Yes, I have. I stopped. Uh, actually, I just had to do an interesting project for one of the classes I'm taking. It was a dream study, and I used some of the entries I had written in my dream journal to do this. It was a project in Photoshop.
That's
But now I
interesting.
had this dream that I was a spirit and I was like floating above earth and looking down, and I could choose, what life I was going to incarnate into next. And I always had a tendency to choose lives where I was like the partner of like a famous person, somebody that was well known, but I
Interesting.
would always end up being killed because of overindulgence. And in this one particular life, I was like the partner of this like musician in the 60s, and we went crazy on drugs, and I overdosed and I died. But then I came out of my body and I was looking at the scene and I was analyzing how everyone was responding to my death. I wasn't concerned about my body or my own like physical well-being, but I was like, oh, this is so interesting. Like, look how these people are responding to my death. And I just thought the whole thing was so adventurous and fascinating, and getting to choose what life, and it was the best. Like death was the best. It was so fun.
So interesting. Yeah, sometimes
Isn't
Chiron
it? It's so interesting.
Chiron eighth house people can actually help people deal with death too, like doulas
Oh,
and
really?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love learning about near death experiences, like reading about that, and I fascinating. Even the dying process, like
Yeah, you're telling me
learning about the
that's like
dying
the
process.
most.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote a book, and that was like the biggest chapter. I literally summarized Dr. Weiss's book in my book. Like that's how big of an impact that book had on me, because it's really the first time I
Oh
learned
yeah.
about past lives and stuff. So I literally like summarized the entire book in a chapter because it was that important. So yeah, it's fascinating stuff.
It really is. It's so interesting. So interesting. So yeah.
Yeah, so what keeps just standing out to me is just that like if you look here, like just the trine from Chiron to Venus, Mars, Jupiter, like the fact that Chiron is trining, all you know, it's part of that grand trine, right? The fact that it's getting this beautiful trine energy from Venus, beautiful trine energy from Mars. It's like your masculine and feminine come together via like you as a healer. If you ever, take that route, it's just know that the chart is very supportive of that. But
All right.
people can be healers, it doesn't have to be professional, it can be in everyday life that it comes up, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good to know.
Yeah. Um, should we jump into the solar returns, or do you want anything else on the natal
I don't
stuff?
think so. I think everything else on the natal stuff, like I said, you were so thorough, and I wrote down everything you said. So it all makes sense, and it really rang true for me. I mean, it it really did. So thank you so much for providing such a detailed um, explanation for all of it. I appreciate it very much. But yeah, no, we can go ahead and move forward.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate the words.
Yeah.
And I'm happy it found you well. Let me see here. Okay, solar return. So your birthday is December. Okay, so where will you be for your next birthday? Do you know?
Where, like physical location?
Yeah.
Los Angeles. Los Angeles.
Oh, you're in LA.
Yeah.
What part of LA are you in?
Santa Monica.
Oh, nice. Nice, nice, nice. My mom lives in the Bay, and we have like our family's from LA originally.
Cool.
So we go there
Oh,
most
cool.
times. Yeah. All right. Let's pull these two bad boys up. Boom. Okay. Okay, so solar return, as you know, is the chart of this year starting on your birthday. So we're, a little bit ahead of time, but they say that your solar return starts to kick in 3 months before your birthday. Um, but what month are we? We're in or August. Let's look at both actually. And for your last birthday, were you also in LA?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Dual wheels. Boom, boom. All right, so this is the current year, right? So these years, it's not, it's from like this last birthday you had to the next one, right? And then
Okay.
the
Okay.
solar return we'll look at after will be for the coming one. So this is the year you're already well into.
Okay.
Um, so the natal chart's on your left. So first thing that stands out, pops out, is the 12th. Oh, okay, wow. So 29-degree Capricorn. Okay, so that is the rising. Pluto's rising. That's interesting with 12th house sun. Okay. Moon's over there on the IC with Uranus. Damn. Okay, that's like a very, and then you have Mars is in Gemini. That's like a very like interesting because so okay, let's break it down. So first of all, the fact that so it's a solar return. So obviously you want to talk about the sun. Sun's in the 12th. Um, Sun in the 12th, that's usually a year. It's really about turning the page It's kind of the end of a cycle, and the beginning of a new one. But it can feel a little bit like you actually kind of said some things earlier, um, about blind faith and about not knowing exactly where you're going, but just going with what's feeling right. And with a 12th house sun and a solar return, I think that everything like related to the past and to your entire life that's come to this point, it sort of a lot of the older pains start to kind of lose their power,
Mhm.
but it can be a bit of a confusing time. Now, what's very interesting is that the moon, solar return moon is with Uranus and North Node. So I think that there's like and then Pluto's on the ascendant. So it's a very active, like energetic year. I would imagine that it would definitely be a year where you would need more alone time to kind of process. Like the dreams might be extra crazy this year. Um, Kind of more of the unconscious stuff that might be coming up. But at the end of the day, Moon with Uranus, um, the word, it's very much about emotional liberation. So when I put this all together in my head, I think about the idea of really, really because it's in Taurus, so it's the idea of change versus staying the same. But when Uranus comes up, it's the great liberator. So it makes me think of like the idea of like different karmic aspects of your life that now are, and it doesn't always make sense. So we'll see how this correlates with like the next solar return, but like different karmic aspects of your life that are needing release and are needing change currently. And it could be a very unconscious process and a very confusing one that might not even make sense until like and we'll look at the transits too to see the whole picture. But yeah, it really does. The energy of that chart really feels like, this math, and to top it all off, having Pluto on the ascendant at 29-degree Capricorn ascendant on top of that, it really does feel like the end of a cycle and like a very massive, massive transformative year. And the energy could be a little bit unstable in the sense of like sometimes going this way, sometimes going that way, sometimes very within, sometimes very without. That's why I said that like environment and sort of just being able to have that kind of inner dialogue and time alone, I think would be more important for this solar year for you than usual. How does that reflect with your experience so far this year?
Right on so far. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, because Pluto rising, right? It's like that. It really is, because you have Pluto in the first house anyways, but it's not on your ascendant in your natal chart, right? Because you have Pluto right here, so it's in your
Yeah.
first house. So um you're definitely letting go of a lot. You're definitely, it's like kind of a badass energy, to be honest. Like you know was the thing, sorry to keep bringing it up, I'm just trying to get the timing, the thing with your mom and the boundaries, is that new, or is that like a few years old?
No, that's a few years old. It's been ongoing for years, but I finally like put my foot down really hard 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But she still, I mean, to this day, like she still tries to contact me. I mean, often. So she has
What's
no
her,
respect for boundaries whatsoever.
yeah, and what's her big three, do you know?
So she's an Aquarius um, with a Aries moon, but I don't know what her rising sign is because I don't know what time she was born.
Gotcha. Aquarius, Aries, okay. um Interesting, because I'm looking for those two planets, and I mean they're both showing up or those two signs, excuse me. I don't know what degree her Aquarius and her Aries is, but I do, like the fact that like this is all correlating, right? And that Saturn at your solar return was in Aquarius, and that Chiron is in Aries. These are very slow moving, but the fact that the solar return is like the stamp in time, um, I think that like I don't know, I just my mind keeps coming back to um, Chiron on the air. It could literally be about really really fully energetically kind of moving on from that, because when we make decisions like
Yeah.
that, it takes time for us to really fully move past it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Do you want to know the degree of her moon?
sure, yeah,
She's 7 degrees Aries for her moon.
yeah, right
And
on.
then she's 5 degrees Sun in Aquarius.
Okay, so the Saturn is a little bit far, but yeah, I mean the fact that the Chiron is there to me, and it's in your fourth house in the solar return, which is the house of family and
Yeah.
home and mother.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is really you healing that mother wound. And just like, because if we looked at this in Placidus, it would be an 11th house sun, which would obviously be different. I like to kind of mix and match the two,
Mhm.
especially because it's a 29 degree. But like 29-degree Capricorn is like a very very strong energy. And it is kind of like I do feel, I would not be surprised if we look at the next solar return and the energy is a lot more of like new beginnings. I would not be surprised. But yeah, it is kind of like final boss energy for something very deep and energetic, that's inside you. And like I was saying before, with like if we flip it to Placidus, um the sun in the 11th, that really takes on an energy of the 11th house is about friends, it's about humanitarianism, it's about our big life goals, like it's like about really, really um, being clear about the imprint we want to leave. It's like the 10th house is the Dharma, the 11th house is like, it's like the life goals that take a whole lifetime, and that's what they accumulate to, right? It's like the major, major things. So, and it's also about like-minded people. And um so yeah, that's one way of looking at it as well. But I think what's really interesting too is that Venus and Mercury are together. So that's just great for any kind of creativity and writing especially. But like with the studies you're doing, I think that's having that conjunction is excellent. um
Okay.
and let's see. But yeah, like Uranus, like exactly with the moon and the North Node on the IC, that speaks to that same theme. It's really about making really coming to terms with what is and stabilizing in this new kind of normal, I guess you could say. But
Okay.
I do like that the North Node is with Uranus and the moon, because it shows that this year is a year where, yeah, it's almost like you're creating like a new normal, you know what I mean? Like a new basis, a new foundation.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. I love it. I love it. That's good news. I like that vibe a lot.
Yeah. What's the year been like in accordance to kind of all that?
I mean, it has been a pretty positive year so far. And I do feel like, especially with the work I've been doing on setting boundaries and establishing my own space, my own time separate from my family, like I do feel like it's a different feeling, a different vibe than that has existed previously. So I do feel like I'm sort of coming into a new normal in a lot of ways. That feels
Definitely.
very positive for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really good. Yeah, because I look at the chart a little closer, and I see, yeah, moon squaring Saturn. So yeah, the solar return moon's a little bit interesting. Like it is important, but it's obviously not as important as like the your actual natal moon transits. But um, Saturn square moon it can it can make the year feel a little bit emotionally like difficult, like a little bit kind of like things trying to pull you back on an unconscious level. Like you're trying to get to this one place because Uranus, it's like Uranus versus Saturn, right? So it's like the great liberator, which makes life kind of fast and move and all that. And then Saturn, which is kind of like pulling at you to try to. It's like this back and forth between forward movement and self-doubt is what one way it can show up.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, for sure.
So it's just and what's so interesting, you have 29-degree last degree of the zodiac, Jupiter, which is actually, this is interesting that you found me this year because this is in your solar return chart. Not that I'm like, that important or anything, but I'm just saying it's just,
You are, yes, you are.
I just find it interesting when I see these things because it's like that's my sun is 28 Pisces, so
Oh,
Jupiter
interesting.
is about teaching. So I guess I was meant to teach you something. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's but this is like Grand Master, 29-degree Pisces, the last degree of the zodiac. So Jupiter, it's with Neptune, right? So it's like your solar return. This is like a very spiritual year as well, and having Neptune and Jupiter together, because Jupiter moves a lot faster, obviously. So you're able to have your solar return right, when that conjunction was still happening. And I mean, I remember that conjunction. It just, everything felt very dreamy, and it creates a very kind of sunsetty, beautiful energy. And it's in your third house, so I think that would be for your, related to, well, actually, no, kids would be fifth house, but yeah, and you said, you're only child. So
yeah, I do have a half brother, but we weren't raised together.
gotcha. Yeah, so I don't know. I think like even for your creativity and just has it been a social year?
It's kind of always social. I mean,
Yeah.
we're more of naturally a pretty social family.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't have like a ton of friends that I go out with all the time. Like I tend to be a little more on the introverted side as far as that goes. I'm kind of selective with who I share my energy with, and what I do. It's more like socializing as a family. So having people over for a family gathering or going to my son's baseball game and socializing with the parents in the stands, like that kind of stuff, which is all the time.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's great. I mean, I think like also, and there's another aspect of the chart is like very like kind of like type A energy movement forward. And it's this mix,
Okay.
yeah, because you have the sun opposite Mars, so and then you have some Jupiter squares. So I think, it's also important to not promise too much. Just Jupiter square Mercury sometimes like that aspect, people like just for this year, like to like, yeah, just like having the groundedness around promising too much. Because I think in your natal you had a Jupiter square sun, I believe, which I have as well. And I don't know if in your reading I said, did I say what I usually say, which is like Superman / Superwoman syndrome?
You did say that.
Yeah. Well, takes one to know one. Like, yeah. So
right, exactly.
yeah. So it's a nice aspect. Anything with Jupiter, it's not bad. It's just about like before big decisions, like really, really grounding yourself. Because it can kind of sometimes, you see me like I'm just like doing like way too much over my head, and that's the Jupiter square. It's like, oh, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this, I can do that, and before you know it, you're just like, oh God. But
yeah, I hear you. Jesse,
Yeah.
just so you know, my son is getting in the car. He'll be in the car for like 5 minutes, but I'm going to keep you on so you can hear. Hi, Sammy.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Sounds good. Um, yeah, so yeah, that's interesting. I think also the Mars retrograde. Ooh, solar return. So I think that actually is very interesting because it is it's in Gemini. So that's typically Mars in Gemini, and a solar return would indicate some, a year where someone wants to kind of move towards learning. Um, but the fact that it's retrograde, it kind of makes me think about you and your relationship to what you're learning, and really, really wanting to analyze the merits of, like, what I'm doing, is what I'm going to be reading, is what I'm going to be learning about, are these things truly worth my time?
Yes, yes, 100%. I think about it every day. Yet I
Yeah,
continue to do it, and I like it, and it's fun, you know. But yeah, I'm constantly like questioning myself, like, is this even going to be worth? Like, what's the outcome of this? What's the end goal of all this? Like, am I just doing this just to waste time, like just to do something, or do I actually have like a purpose for it? Like, what's the goal here?
yeah, and I think that's just the nature of the 12th house, is that I think that it is, and I want to see where where you're at in progressed. But just the nature of that energy is very much, how you say it, it's almost like you're not meant to know. And it can be a little bit annoying for people because we want to know, but it does just test us in the sense of, like, okay, um like, I'm gonna go with what feels good. I'm gonna go with what feels correct, with what feels like it's supposed to be here, with with what feels like, what feels right intuitively, and it pushes us to kind of be able to kind of feel into our intuitions. But let's see. I want to see this before I jump back in the solar. Oh, okay, wait, never mind. I was looking at solar arc. Okay, okay, okay. So your progressed moon is in Aquarius, 13 degrees. So progressed moon, this is very, like, so if you want to know where you are at, and you can always use this, like, going forward, you can just search on Google something like calculate my progressed moon.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the best way I could explain progressed moon is that it's like a emotional compass, in a sense.
Yeah.
And it kind of tells us, like, so if you compare the progressed moon to the natal moon, so the fact that your progressed moon is in Aquarius, and that you're a Cancer moon, um is interesting. But yeah, I think whenever your progressed moon is in Aquarius, there is usually more of an emotional need for socializing, for finding your place in humanity, for finding, your deeper meaning, for connecting with like-minded people. Aquarius is very friendly. It's very, outside the box as well. So I think that years, or it's when you're progress, and it's going to be here for another, it's 2.5 years, so it's going to be for another 17 months. I think that it can make someone a little bit less emotionally driven for that period. It's been there for 13 months. And more logical, more
Yeah.
Aquarius moons, their strength is being able to be very, very logical, especially in the heat of the moment. And of course, it doesn't change that you're a Cancer moon. Like, none of this changes the natal chart. It's just the current energy, right? So
Right.
when the progressed moon is in Aquarius, you really, and let me see, where's the sun? Oh, wow. So that means that, okay, so this is a huge deal. So in the last, let me calculate in my head, blah 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 blah. 13. So I guess it would be year and a half ish, like around that time ago, like around like 18 months or so ago, you had your progressed new moon. So that's a huge deal, and it kind of lends credence to what I was saying earlier. Um, when you go, so the progressed new moon, I don't know if you can see, I know you're driving, but basically the progressed moon, what's that?
Hang on just a second.
You don't have to see it. I don't want to cause an accident.
Oh, there we go. Okay, no, I'm parked now. I'm walking into my house. I was just afraid I might lose you, but no, we're still connected, so it's all good. Okay, so go
Yeah.
ahead about the new moon.
Yeah. So basically, a progress chart is like for each. It's the theory that for each year after a birth, each day after a birth equals a year, right? So if you're 30 years old, you take the chart of 30 days after your birth where the planets are, and that's kind of what progressions are. So, obviously the moon moves faster than the sun, right? So
Yeah.
a few times in our life we have a progressed new moon. And you had yours in the last year and a half, and just like a new moon in real life, it symbolizes completely new beginning. And yours would have been in Capricorn in your fourth house. So it's interesting. It's very interesting that would happen in Capricorn, because when I think about a progressive new moon in Capricorn, I really think about someone becoming really, really moving into their masculine in the sense of like becoming their own like I always say, hey, Mika, their own like metaphorical father. And it's kind of like it's kind of like a boss energy. I don't know how else to say it. Like it really, and now the fact that it's in Aquarius, you're starting. It's gonna in time. It's gonna make more and more sense. This new 28 and a half year cycle that you're on, but like right when you're just past the new moon, it how when there's a new moon like we have one like what like tomorrow, right? Everything's very dark, right, in the sky. You
Yeah.
can't see. So it's a metaphor for how that something big is shifting, but it's hard to see it because there's not enough sunlight to we don't see. We feel the shift, but we're not able to fully understand where we're going. But we can totally feel that, because in the years before this, your moon would have been here. I'm sure that it was in Scorpio when a bunch of the crazy stuff went down, because that's always how it is. It's how it was for me.
It was, yeah, I checked.
It was, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, and then the Sag is probably a lot better, and then the Capricorn, but like it's also just like those last, I could even say last decade. There's this feeling that's very difficult because you feel like you're ending a cycle, right? And this is probably when a lot of that stuff started for you, right? A lot of this questioning is that you felt like you were ending a cycle, but you weren't really sure where it was going. And that's the kind of the hardest part of this phase. You've passed it, and you've passed a lot of the hardest transits. We'll look in to see like what else is going on, but I know for a fact that the craziest transits, you passed them. But yeah, like now that you see the moon is here, right? Like I'm looking
Yeah.
at this. Yeah, the moon is here, the sun is here. Now each month that passes is like for the next 20, and like especially when it gets to like 28 Pisces, like it's going to make more and more sense, this new stage. But I just think this completely validates everything you were telling me about that difficult period you went through before, the boundaries you have to create, not really knowing exactly where you're going, but it feeling right. That's exactly what I hear from people who are in this type of who are at this point, right? Because if you were, let's say you were like, let's fast forward in 10 years, right? Let's say you were like right here. This mission that you're on now would make so much more sense. And you would be able to look back at now and be like, okay, now I get why I was feeling that way. Now I get why that had to happen. Now I get why, I went that direction. But now that you're just past the new moon, it's about intuition. So it's a time of heightened intuition where you're being asked to lean into that intuition more and more to really be able to feel, okay, this is like this is what I'm doing is correct. What I'm doing is it feels good. Okay, so it's good. And then in time, the answers will make more sense logically. You know what I mean?
Oh, good. I hope so. I trust that they will. It's just you have to wait it out. And that's the
Yeah.
hard part.
Well, I mean, the astrology, I mean, and it really just it does show that, you see that it's 15 degrees ahead of the sun. That's something. You made it past the new moon. So yeah, now it's just about kind of moving into, and when it gets to Pisces in 17 months, I think that, progressed moon in Pisces is a very peaceful time for I mean, for spiritual people, it is.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I think, the moon in Pisces in general, it definitely is sensitive spiritually, but I think that it's very creative, and with your south node there, it's going to feel very aligned. So now in Aquarius, I think it's, just really important to, yeah, to align yourself with the right types of energies, right types of environments, right types of people. And also, maybe it's nice and I want to see like before I make that statement, what's happening with the moon. Let me just see first.
Hang on. Hang on just a second, Jesse. What?
No problem.
It's okay.
I'm just putting that form for us, so you'll get that email.
Oh.
But you get to approve it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Sorry.
No problem. Yeah, I was just looking to see if you had any difficult moon transits. Doesn't look like it. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I would assume that with the progressed moon in Aquarius, it's probably a time that's less emotionally led than typical for a Cancer moon. And
Okay,
I'm curious,
good.
yeah, I'm curious how that feels. Like, I mean, does that resonate? Like,
Well, I mean, relatively speaking, like to the past even 15 years, yes, it's less emotional. That doesn't mean it's unemotional. I mean, I just started back into therapy a couple months ago. I mean, nothing like major happening, just, to manage the things here and there that pop up or whatever. And so, I definitely have my emotional moments, but overall, it's much less emotional
yeah,
than the past 15 years have been overall. I just feel a lot more I just have my shit together more, and
yeah.
I'm feeling a little more independent, and I have tools now that if emotional moments do pop up, I know how to use the tools to deal with the emotions and such, right? So I just feel a little bit more grown up in that way. So yeah, I would agree with that.
Well, that's the perfect way of putting it. Because, where you have your new moon, what sign is so important, right? It sets the tone for your life, right? So your new moon happened at the end of Capricorn, and also Pluto was probably your progressed new moon. Should I find it? Should I go back in time? Let's do it.
Sure.
Yeah. Let me do 6 months intervals. I bet you have Pluto conjunct. Okay. Yep. Yep. I was correct. So if we were to create a chart for your progressed new moon, Pluto would be on it. Exactly. You see Pluto, transit Pluto. So that's so interesting. I want to see if there's. So it would have to be the end of the degrees at 28. Let's see. Yeah, so that is literally saying death, rebirth, transformation, snake shedding the skin. So maybe what was it, like 15 months, like a year and a half ago, could have been like a very emotional time full of lots of release,
Yeah.
perhaps.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, but the energy I'm getting is like that a lot of the hard work has been done. That's
Good,
the
because I have done a lot of hard work. I'm glad.
yeah, I can
I'm
see
glad
that. I
that's
mean,
behind me. Yeah.
yeah, because with the I mean, yeah, just with Pluto, let's see, I can tell you exactly when. It's probably a long time ago, but let's see. So it would have to be at, it's 1510. So we're talking, I mean, yeah, like in 2014, you're still in it. In 2013, you're definitely in that Pluto opposite moon period. So it does kind of correlate with what you said, right? Like, 10,
Yeah.
yeah, I would say like definitely like 2012 would probably be like when you start to really feel it, and then it just lasts for so long, for like 5 years,
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm.
transforming everything. And then what was the other one? The other one was Uranus, right? No, Neptune. So Neptune, let's see when that was opposite. So that Neptune would have to be at, or not opposite, square sun. So that one would be in like 2017-ish.
Oh, it was horrible.
Yeah. So those are like
It was
the
so
date.
bad.
Yeah, Neptune square sun. So complete identity crisis, just taking on so much energy. I know, trust me, I actually have, I went through similar transits recently, so I'm very aware of how sneaky and how it's just like, oh, you're like, it's so isolating, and it just makes it just feel like there's so much, like you just start taking on so much energy from people that you didn't always, people, places, things that didn't always affect you start to affect you, and you're like, what? I thought I was Superman, Superwoman.
Oh yeah, it's so true. Oh my gosh. Like
Yeah.
I was completely not myself. Like I was a different person. It was weird. Not in all aspects of life. Like I was still a good mother and all that, but I just made some
Yeah,
bad choices.
internally tough for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, right now, I mean, like what I see, what's massive right now is the Pluto archetype, because it's, your progressed sun is 28 Capricorn, and that's where Pluto is right now. So, you know, Pluto conjunct progressed sun, it's just that continuous process of snake shedding the skin. Um, let's see when, well, it will be when in 2026. No, I mean 2020, next year will be when it's really moving away. But yeah, 2025 will be when Pluto's like fully moved away. But like these types of transits, they feel more natural just with time. But yeah, you see how it's 28, Pluto's at 28 Cap, and then your progressed sun is also.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably the most difficult one I see right now. But what's Neptune doing? Let's see. Fixed. I think you're past everything with. Oh, wait. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So also, and this is, you're past it. You're past it. But like in the
Okay,
midst
good.
of all the craziness, you also would have had Neptune opposite your Virgo planet. So because like your Virgo planets are at the start of Virgo, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so that would have been around the same time as your Pluto opposition. So you had like a bunch like Pluto opposite Moon. This is like 10 years ago, right? And then
Yeah.
Neptune was opposite all your Virgos. Like, so now it's Neptune's clear, it's not doing anything, it's away. Um, let's see, Chiron. So Chiron will be on your descendant soon. So we can talk about that. Or actually, wait,
Okay.
no, it passed your descendant, so that's good. So a lot of times when Chiron goes on descendant, and that would have been, let's see what year. Right here. So last year, like kind of start of last year. That can make things a little bit testy for like a relationship. It can be a great time for healing any kind of wounds in a relationship, but like if the relationship already is like very healing in itself, it's less challenging. But a lot of times, and you're past this, as I said, but like, like there's people who break up or who, a lot of old pain of the relationship. Let's say something happens early on and the impact kind of goes away. Mika, stop messing with my wires. It kind of goes away for a while. It can bring stuff up for sure, but it sounds like you guys are very solid, from what you said. So, um, yeah, but that
Okay.
one's
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Okay,
one's
good. It's passed. All right. Great.
a lot's passed. A lot's passed. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, that's what you want. Oh, interesting. So, huh. So there's some things in astrology where there's not really a definition, but vertex and north node are both obviously. North node is very connected to fate, destiny. Vertex, it's similar in the sense that there's this very fated, kind of hard to put into words, element, right? So right now, the north node for you or for everyone, but it's on your vertex. So this next few months for you could really be it, it's impossible for me to tell you what it can be, but something very fated, something very, very linked to your highest awareness, highest destiny can pop up. Um, it's very hard because they're both hypothetical points, North Node and Vertex, right? But
Right.
yeah, just to have North Node on your Vertex, to me, if it was happening to me, I would be excited. I'd be like, damn, that's mysterious, but
Okay.
I just
Yeah, it's intriguing. Yeah.
some kind of alignment is the word that comes to me, but very hard to kind of predict what that could be. Let's see. Jupiter. Let's see, Jupiter. So Jupiter right now is in your eighth house. And it's on your Chiron. Wow. Okay. So that is a really good aspect for healing. It's Jupiter conjunct Chiron. It's kind of like the dream transit for a healer, but also it allows things that used to really bother you, which kind of goes back to the solar return. Mika, don't touch it. Mika, get away from the TV. I'm not risking you breaking this thing and breaking your little back. You stay in my arms. Okay? You Aries girl.
Oh, he's cute.
She's a little athlete. Mika, just be calm. Stay, Mika. I'll pet you. Okay, good. Yeah, so I think like Jupiter and Chiron, Jupiter brings light, Chiron is healing. So Jupiter expands. So expansion to your healing. I think when people go through that, they tend to report that the thing, they're able to see their wounds in a bigger. It's a great time for any kind of therapy, because they're able to see their wounds from a larger perspective. Now you're a Sag already, so you have that ability, innately, but it definitely does bring a lot of good fortune around just the general idea of healing, and being a healer. So that's cool.
Okay, great.
And the fact that Jupiter's in your eighth house, I mean, that could be a really good time for money, to be honest.
Hey.
Like there's people who receive inheritances when Jupiter transits their eighth. There's people who, in some way, shape, or form come into, like maybe like, because it's other people's resources, right? So
Uh-huh.
like I've had clients where their partner gets some massive promotion, something like that, like where like there's some type
Yeah.
of like some type of like big gain that doesn't necessarily have to do with them, because the eighth house is other people's resources, but benefits
Oh, okay.
benefits them. Yeah, so that's one
Gotcha.
aspect of it. And the fact that Uranus and Jupiter are in there for you, the eighth house is also about the undercurrents, it's about the esoteric, it's like, things like psychology, astrology, all that. So um it's almost like having a flashlight in the really like past lives, all that stuff, death. So it's almost like having like a flashlight or a lantern in the areas of life that are taboo and kind of scary to a lot of people. Um, for you right now to have these planets transiting in the eighth house, the house that everyone's afraid of, uh, it's kind of a superpower, and it's a very interesting, very good time for studying anything metaphysical, or just learning about things that interest you that are metaphysical. Because you'll be able to really have like this innate understanding, like you just get it. It just makes sense.
Okay. All right, cool. That's good to know. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of work with psychic mediums for the first time this year. It started in January,
That's awesome.
and sort of not accidentally, but like I just kind of stumbled upon it, and now it's interesting. It's
Yeah,
really fascinating to like communicate with departed loved ones. I mean, these people's ability to do this. I mean, again, it's kind of one of the things, kind of like the hypnosis. It's like, are they like are we imagining this? Like, what is going on here?
yeah.
But it's
I think
right on. It's right on. It's so crazy.
it is crazy because like at some points, there is this level of like, what am I saying, like how is this possible? But I think like just the energetic density that one holds, and this comes from other people as well, that's why I just continue to say how big of a deal this boundary you created is. I think that like literally, like if you have someone else's energy leeching off of you, that's not pure, that's very dense, that can hold you back from this type of work, even someone else's doubt, if you take it in. But by having like this very like energetically like light, um I guess, life, you're able to do this work, and it's all about flow. It's not about reason, it's not about logic. um
I know, and
and
I have a hard. I mean, I'm so believing in it, but at the same time, there's that little voice that's like, "This
yeah,
is bullshit. They're making this up," you know.
yeah,
Um, but yet I'm so drawn to it. It's so interesting.
yeah, I would just like definitely, like, I think the voice, okay, this is really
Oh,
important.
eh, can I pause you for just 1 second? Hang on, my son
Yeah,
just
yeah,
popped his
yeah,
head in.
no
Hey,
issue.
yeah. Okay, okay. Sorry. Go ahead. That was quick.
Yeah.
Okay,
A quick request. I was gonna
it
say,
was.
this is really important in my opinion. Just in general, I think that voice is super important. That voice of doubt, because I think if you look even like on Instagram, like there's a lot of BS, there's a lot of like spiritual
Oh yeah.
BS right now. And like even like things that aren't spiritual, like I'll pop on Instagram, I'll see like some like just really, really stupid conspiracy. Like not I don't like to like use that word, because there's a lot of quote unquote conspiracies that are not conspiracies and are completely real. Um,
Right.
but some are just ridiculous, you know, like there's one
Oh,
person,
absolutely.
yeah, like posting about like it was like some cloud or something, and they're like I don't know, like it wasn't like some chemtrail thing, but it was just like it was so obvious to me that it was genuinely like a cloud, but all the
Yeah.
comments were like, oh my God, the government, blah blah. So it's like it's important to still have, you know, that degree of
Some
like
discernment,
yeah,
a
exactly.
level of discernment. Yes, I think that's important. Because there are some people, well, like you said, like they've got some wacky ideas, and I'm just like, I mean, do you have a brain? Like,
It's
what is,
crazy.
what is, I don't know, the level of brainwashing that exists out there is just really
It's
wild
insane.
to witness from not being in it. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, the kingdom of the blind, the one-eyed man is king, as they say. But
And, and what's so ironic is that it's those people that call everyone else sheep, and I'm like, sheep?
yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's so hard. Yeah, like I don't know. 'Cause like
I don't know either.
I encourage people to like go on like a thought journey, even if it takes them to a crazy place. Like I still think it's better to think openly, you know, even if you're so wrong. Like I watch tons of content that I completely disagree with, you know, but like
Yeah,
I watch it to understand the zeitgeist, you know, because there's even if I don't agree with something, that doesn't mean I'm not gonna watch it. Like I just
right.
like to see people talk about things that they believe to be true, and I'll judge after I see enough, you know. But I don't know. That's why I
Yeah,
always like will watch. Like I'll never like only like look at like if you're talking about politics, for example. Like I'll never like only like I just think it's crazy to only look at one, you know, one kind of
right.
side of the
Exactly.
aisle, right?
Yeah, I agree with that actually.
And that's very Sagittarius, high vibe Sag is to yeah to kind of like you know with your third house sun in Sag, I think it really is about taking information from everywhere and you know, but then yeah, having that discernment is very important. But I think with the work you're doing, you know, a lot of your energetic density is opening up, and the fact that your new moon, oh my God, I can't, I'm mind blown that it happened on Pluto. Like that is just the ultimate death, rebirth, transformation in Capricorn, like late degree. Um, I don't know. I think that that's you becoming very powerful. I don't know in what kind of way, but I'm not just saying that because 28 degrees is known as some people talk about it as like the best degree because it's not 29. 29 is like a little bit like, you know, there's a lot of weight that comes with 29 because it's the last degree. 28
Yeah.
is kind of like a master degree, I think. So that's the fact that you had your new moon at 28 is pretty crazy to me, and I think that um, you know, Pluto is gonna whatever you put your energy into, you can really, really go far with it. And I think it's gonna make what I'm saying, it's gonna make more and more sense as time goes. And yeah, it's just about always going back to that natal, you know, energy, right? About the Cancer and the Sag, but also that Scorpio, you know, that Scorpio Mercury with Uranus, like outside the box thinker. So like that's why you're able to see the BS and see and see kind of like, you know, I feel like you have this like ability to kind of guide yourself. Like you can probably look, for example,
Yeah.
you can probably go on Instagram and pretty quickly see if someone's like BS or if someone's for real, I
Yes,
imagine.
it's obvious. It's glaringly obvious.
But then to other people, it's not, right?
It's not, and I don't understand why they can't see it. I don't understand it at all. It's like the writing is on the wall. Are you just closing your eyes? What's going on here?
Yeah. So this is something I've struggled with myself. It's a gift. That's ultimately what it is. It's
Oh,
in your
okay.
it's yeah, it's a gift. It's in your chart. You have Neptune on your sun. You know, that's you know for your whole life. Neptune on your sun. And that year I told you that Uranus and Mercury together that creates you know geniuses or people who think outside the box and who are you know already deep thinker, Mercury and Scorpio, only, you know, energy there. And then with Uranus on there, it's like being able to really, really like have this very original way of not just communicating, thinking, seeing the world, all these things. And a lot of times it can give like some very like unique kind of original hobbies. Cats, Mika,
Mm-hmm.
no. Come inside, Esme. One sec, I have to let the babies in. Come on, Esme inside. Esme, you have work to do. Come here. Esme. Oh my God. Come on. I need your help, Esme. We're gonna have Esme help you a little bit.
Okay.
She's always sometimes she's actually unwilling to help. Here she
Oh, I
is.
understand, SMA. Yay! Oh, hi, Esme. So nice to see you today.
You hear that, Esme? Don't do the thing. Ow! She's all energetic because she's outside. Okay, she'll come back to my lap in probably 10 minutes. Esme.
Okay.
She's scratching me. Esme. Bad cancer. Cancers can be so mean. Horrible, horrible. Ow. Mika's Aries, but you know what you're getting with Aries, you know? They're like, I'm mean, but I'm going to tell you I'm mean. And the cancers, they act all sweet. Yeah, so that is just like biggest takeaway ever. New moon, progress new moon, 28 Capricorn, happening in your fourth house, letting go of old BS that held you down, moving towards, with Pluto, like this new regenerative self that can get through anything. Capricorn is a sign of masculinity. So it's a sign, it really is a very capable energy. So whatever you're building right now, like this is for real, and you will have the follow through to get to where, it's going to take you in. The fact that the nodes are involved also, like there's a lot of destiny with what's going on right now in your life. And I think that what you're studying, I really felt really good when you said it to me. How do you feel like right when you think about it right now?
Oh, I
What's it?
love it. It brings me
Yeah,
so much joy and satisfaction. Yeah.
that's all. That's all you need right there. All you need, all you need, all you need. Um, all right, all right, okay. So let's see. So is Jupiter doing any bad stuff? So fixed 14. Nope. No, Jupiter never gets that bad. Nope, nope, nope. Okay, so Uranus in the eighth, another really psychic one. But then in your sixth, you have Saturn. So I always tell people when Saturn's going through your sixth, don't overwork yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, but like your sixth house is Pisces. So that's in your natal chart. You have a sixth house Pisces. So you like it's very good for you to have spirituality in your day-to-day life, you know?
Yeah, it is for sure.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And it actually has an effect on career, on everything. Because you're part of fortune. So this is back kind of to natal. I'm kind of going back and forth, but I didn't, we didn't really talk about your part of fortune. Part of fortune is like where it's a random point. It's not a real planet, but it's just like it's through an equation of like sun plus moon minus ascendant on like a numerical 1 to 360 numerical type. It's a weird calculation, but it just lands. Imagine it's like the accumulation of your sun, moon, and rising, and it lands at a random point in the zodiac. And that
Oh, that's
point,
interesting.
yeah, so it's an Arabic, it's the most important Arabic point or part, excuse me. And it really represents like where you just kill it, like where your flow places, like where you find the most joy. It's like this really, really amazing place. So for you, it's at 7 Pisces right on your south node in the sixth house in your natal chart. So to me, it's like that kind of speaks to these psychic gifts, these, even the mediumship stuff. I think that is a big potential for you to be a healer and to kind of be able to contribute in your day to day, and whether it's just to yourself or to others. But yeah,
You
like
know,
that.
I keep getting that. I keep hearing that, and I am just so doubtful of it because, I learn about these like these more famous mediums who as children they saw dead people and they heard voices, and and I'm like, well, that is definitely not me. I've never seen a ghost, I've never heard any voices. I feel like I'm very intuitive and I can pick up on things really quickly and I can read people's energy and stuff like that, but I've never channeled a deceased person. Like, the thought of me doing that is like crazy town to me. But I actually
Yeah.
just I met with this a medium who's kind of become a friend of mine over the weekend, and she did a 1 hour reading for me, and we were having this exact conversation. And she was like, Jill, like, I didn't hear voices either. I've never seen a ghost either. And I'm like, well, I feel like if I were to like train to be a medium, I would just be making shit up. I would literally just be like making shit up. And she's like, what do you think I'm doing?
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
everything that she says is right. Like,
Yeah.
how
Well,
is that even possible?
so I understand what you're saying. I also, like, I'm doing readings for people where I've never met them, right? And I wouldn't say I ever really have doubts because I've had enough like reinforcement, from like people saying like, how the fuck did you know all that? You've never seen me, blah blah. But like,
Yeah.
it's just a matter of time. What I believe is that spirit in some type of way works with you because it's sacred, right? So I think that, like, you definitely, like, from your natal chart have all, like, the fact that Chiron is in a grand trine with Venus and Mars and Jupiter. It's like that right there is enough. Like, I don't need anything else. Then the fact that you have Neptune on your sun, the fact that you have Mercury with Uranus. I mean, Mercury with Uranus is someone who can be clairvoyant, literally. Like, Uranus is the future, so a lot of clairvoyants have Mercury and Uranus conjunctions. It's not uncommon at all. So I don't know. I think you have all the ingredients to. I don't know. I would try it out, see where it goes. What's the worst case, right?
Yeah, maybe I will. The medium goes, hey, why don't you read me right now? Just try it. And I was like, what? You know how
Yeah.
intimidating that is for a medium to tell you to read them? And you've never, I'm like, I mean, I'm just like, I see a black and white cat. And she's like, yeah, yeah. Okay, there we go. I had a black cat. I'm like, no, no.
Well, it's always going to be a battle, right? And this goes back to your nodal journey of Virgo Pisces. It's like, how can you get the best out of both? And the Pisces is very good at just kind of going with the flow, kind of just letting spirit guide it. And the Virgo is about discernment, right? Like, if you go too Pisces, you become like one of those people who are like believing all the stupid shit we were just talking about. But if you become too Virgo, then you can become someone who, doubts themselves too much and has self-limiting beliefs, right? So I think that, like, it's about finding that balance between the two. But like, Virgo is a very spiritual sign. Don't get, especially in the 12th house where you have it. So a lot of like psychics, like, are Virgos or have tons of Virgo in their chart. It's not uncommon. So, like, just from a birth chart perspective, I would say you have all of the ingredients. It's just about, it's like sports, it's like, you just have to work out those muscles, right? But you have the
Yeah,
natural
yeah,
ability. It's just about, the potential's there. Just about, because, like, yeah, there are those people who say like, I've seen these people, blah blah blah. But like, first of all, how many? I don't believe that many people. My friend Patsy, she's a legit medium. But like, I've also, she's, so she tells me things. And she tells me how there's a lot of people out there who don't, are literally like full of shit,
yeah,
so yeah, I don't know, it could be anything. It could be Reiki, it could be, it could be like a mix of different things. Who knows? I just think that
yeah.
it's
Okay.
whatever's fun for you. That's the most important thing, whatever's fun and interesting. So
Okay.
yeah. All right, let's see. So okay, 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 okay. So Mars. Okay. So Virgo season for you is your 12th house time. How's Virgo season, if you can think about this, like, each year? Do you experience like Virgo season in kind of like an interesting way, like because it's your 12th house is Virgo, but you have so many planets there. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, it's always like a new beginning for me every year because it's when, it's back to school season
That's what
and I'm really
I was gonna
involved.
ask you. I was gonna ask you, does it feel like a new year?
It does. It's like a new year. And I'm very involved in volunteering at my kids' school with some art programs and stuff. And it's like the huge, like, kickoff thing. And so, I treat it like a full-time job basically. And so yeah, it's very intense, but I also really enjoy it. It's really good for me. And with them being back in school, it's like a new level of structure being reintroduced after summer, so it's
Yeah.
intense, but it's a good type of intensity.
That's kind of cool because like I'm curious how it would be if you didn't have like all of that, all of those activities going on.
Well,
I,
it's interesting. I was just thinking like, well, what did I do before kids? But before I had kids, I worked at Microsoft on the university recruiting team, and it was the same thing because university school starting back, and it's like
yeah,
the huge fall recruiting rush, and it's like bonkers insanity working so much. It's like that perfectionism. Like I was always like nailed every single thing I did. Didn't matter
yeah.
how many hours I had to work. So it's been that way, well, my whole life, because then before that I was a student. So it's all for my whole life. It's always been like a new year.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Uh,
Well, yeah, I think I don't know. I was just curious because the 12th house, and then when the sun transits it, I think it could, yeah, it could really illuminate a lot of these energies for that year. So yeah, just something to kind of like look out for is the Virgo season. Just feeling into that could be kind of witchy and yeah, okay.
Okay, this year in particular. So like next
Every
month,
Yeah, like
or just
every
every
year.
year, every
Yeah,
year. Okay,
every
gotcha.
year, but just because your 12th house is Virgo.
Oh, I see.
Um
Okay, got it.
so let me see. Also, I didn't say this about your progressed moon. It's in the fifth house, so that is very creative. And a lot of times people when their progressed moon's in the fifth, they want to have fun. They want to do fun things. They want to create. And it's also related to children, so there's a big link there. Obviously, that's not, you transitory, but yeah.
Okay.
And then it's okay. So let's see. Yeah, Neptune the sixth. Yeah, so it's really like a lot of soft energy kind of around just kind of going with the flow in your life and trusting God, trusting that things are kind of lined up for you in this correct manner. Because I feel like like with the transits that you had before, those were big time, and now I feel like you're able to kind of just chill more. I mean, there's a lot of power. Like having that Pluto new moon is just, yeah, it's just gonna make you, yeah, you just become like a force to be reckoned with. And I think it's testament to a lot of the work you've done, a lot that you've cleared out. So whatever you decide to do. Um, So that's cool. Okay, so let's look at the solar return for this coming year. I wanted to go back to this. I just wanted to look at that stuff for a little bit. Um,
Okay.
so here, wait, no way. There's no way you have two back-to-back 29-degree years. Yep. So you have back-to-back 29-degree rising. This time it's Taurus. So this one is Capricorn. So next December is Taurus. That's very interesting. Um, okay, Moon in Virgo. Sun in the eighth. Ooh, with Mars. That is interesting. Eighth house sun, really wanting to, of course, it'd be seventh in classes. I mean, there's definitely like a very, and yeah, there's definitely a very relational energy. Like almost one could say romantic. And I think like also that Venus in Scorpio, and I mean that in a good way. But also like an eighth house sun for the year is just like just it's very, eighth house sun. I mean, I'm an eighth house sun. A lot of eighth house sun, the energy is about transformation, I don't know. It's just very, very, very witchy, very I think that it's just interesting that you go from 12 to 8, from Scorpio or from Pisces to Scorpio, right? Like 12th
Yeah,
house
yeah.
sun this year to 8th house. And it's almost like a continuation of, I don't know, I just feel like just wanting to know, what's beneath the surface. And just yeah, just it's very deep, very transformative. But the fact that the Venus rules this chart. Remember, this past year, Saturn ruled, or this current year, Saturn rules your solar return. So starting next birthday, it's ruling. So obviously, it's a lot more. It's more chill. Um,
Yeah, good.
yeah, and I think that the fact that like the moon is in Virgo, I mean, that's an energy that you know very well. It sextiles your natal moon, so that's good. It's in the fifth house, so just always gotta watch out for the perfectionism. That's the one thing. Gotta watch out for the perfectionism. But like it's right on fixed star de Nebula, which is all about higher occult learning. So that plus the eighth house and the Mars there, I don't know. I would not be surprised if you went pretty deep with the esoteric stuff. I would not be surprised.
Well, I've got an opportunity to take this mediumship class. It's expensive as hell though, but gosh, it sounds so interesting.
Hmm.
So I'm thinking about
Expensive.
that.
Is it expensive in a scammy, like a scammy level of expensive? Like who's doing it?
No, it's not no, it's not expensive in a scammy way. And the woman who's doing it, like I've sat in
She's
on several sessions with her, and it's run by it's a sort of it's called a meditation studio, but they do all kinds of
uh
mysticism, spirituality sort of classes and programs and all sorts of things. And so they're the ones that are putting it on, but the woman who does it, she's she's pretty amazing. But it's just honestly the biggest thing that's holding me back is like when I tell my husband, hey honey, I'm gonna spend like $1,000 to take this like mediumship class. I mean, he would be fine with it, but it's like he's not into this kind of stuff.
yeah.
And, even though he and I, who John Edward is? He's
John
a
Edward
he's
is
like
his name?
he's a famous medium. He's a famous medium. He used to have a TV show.
John Edward.
Anyway, it's okay. He's like this famous medium guy. Anyway, my husband and I went to one of his not workshop. It was just he was just doing a talk. He was just like doing readings for people in the audience. This was the first time I had ever seen a medium live. Like it was just sort of like on a whim. We went to this thing in this big hotel ballroom in LA. Like there were like 300 people there. And at the very end of it, we're sitting in the very back row. He points at me and he goes, "You in the back row, stand up. Your dad's here." I was shocked. And my husband was there to witness it. Like it was incredible. It was incredible. But he's like, I don't know. He just has a really good way of like telling you what you want to hear. But I'm like, how could he give me those details about my dad, about our kids? Like how? I don't know. Anyway, so that's
Yeah, I know,
and
I
that's
know, I know what he's
you
saying.
know,
Like,
it's that skeptic's voice in my head too. Like, do you really need to be spending on money on this, or should you be investing more in like down to earth, like grounded things that you actually know are real, right?
yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, only you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
because like
know.
I mean, if it was astrology, I would be able to tell you. I just don't. I mean, I don't know. You know, I mean,
Oh, I know. Yeah.
I definitely know my friend. You know, she's like just so amazing with all this stuff. But I don't know. I just don't know enough about mediumship. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe meditate on it for a while and see what comes up.
Okay.
Because
I will.
you know, it could be if it's a yeah, if it's a good, or you know, you can ask for like a totem or the universe to show you like an answer kind of thing. That works for
Yeah.
me usually. Like give me
Okay.
a
I'll do
clue.
that.
But yeah, so yeah, because the very deep solar return again, so back to back. Um, something just came to me, the word secrets. Maybe like learning some kind of secret. I don't know. Because eighth house can be about that sometimes.
Oh, learning like from other people or like divulging secrets.
Yeah,
Like,
maybe like some secret that you learn about or someone tells you about, or I don't know. Yeah.
oh,
Just like
okay, interesting.
yeah, because like eighth house, it's like it's what's hidden, you know? So
Yeah.
when the sun, you know, for the next years in the eighth house, so return, it's like there's a fascination of the unseen. And I think once you know, once one gets like some momentum going on that, you know, especially with a Scorpio Mercury conjunct Uranus, I don't know, I don't know how it will play out, but it definitely with Mars also there, um, definitely a push towards some witchy stuff. That's kind of how
Okay.
I see it.
All right, I'll be on the lookout.
Yeah. Let me see. And yeah, just like continuation like of this like karmic healing, you know, now you have like North Node with Chiron in the 12th. So it's just like a continuation of like the whole mother stuff, like you know, really moving past it. And yeah, I mean it's really like, you know, Chiron with the North Node. What can happen with that too is that it can actually unveil to us latent gifts that we have, like spiritual gifts, that we didn't know we had.
Oh,
Talent,
interesting.
yeah, because it's hidden, right? So a lot of like the energy of the year, like the most like it's yeah, and even like the fact that the ruling planets in Scorpio, it's like very witchy and yeah, I mean like vertex with South Node. Yeah, I mean there can be lots of things kind of from, and I think I do see it being a very good year for your marriage. Um, I
Okay.
really yeah, I see a lot of really good stuff there. You know, the moon with Juno is nice, and you know he's Virgo rising, so yeah, I mean Venus, you know, right there in the seventh, definitely like not that anything's bad or anything like that, but like, you know, it's always good to, you know, sometimes I think relationships like marriages, relationships like there can be like energetic evolutions within them, you know, where
Oh,
uh
yeah, totally.
yeah, even just like like being yeah, seeing things in a different light. And I think that the like for example, if you have like Saturn squaring your Venus, right? Like I broke up with my girlfriend. I didn't even know I had that transit. That's why I should definitely follow my like actually like use astrology for myself more. But I broke up with her when I had that transit, and I didn't even know I had it. But there's transits like that that can kind of I'm gonna take off this view that can kind of make us see you know our partners in a less good way. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing. I'm not like a fatalist in that sense where I'm like just because you have this transit, you're gonna, you know, I think everything is free will mixed with the energy. But yeah, it's definitely very good. I want to look at this. Let's open up for 18. Okay. let's see here. Okay, so a more detailed view. Oh, nice. So right now, now I'm looking at like I already looked at some transits, but I'm looking I have like a more detailed view of the transits, right?
Mm-hmm.
So right now you have a very, very, very good one. I'm jealous. Um,
Oh.
so it's from 15th August until next March, right? And that's like the main one on your moon, because the moon transits are the ones that you really feel, and that's Jupiter sextile moon. And like the only way I could describe that is just like a feel good energy on like an internal level. Like very warm, very loving, very expansive internally. And it makes, yeah, it makes you like, makes people really want to be around you. And like, yeah, I mean, like Jupiter to the moon in a sextile or trine, it's just, yeah, it's just happiness, you know, optimism and um, good vibes, you know, that's all I can really say. And it goes for a while. That's longer. Usually Jupiter transits do not last that long. So you have it till 20th of March is when it stops. So that's really good. And it literally starts tomorrow, like fully. So
Yeah. All right. Nice.
yeah, that's really great. Um, let's see. So one difficult one, well, you have till next March. Um, it's Saturn squaring your sun. So with that one, you know, Saturn transits on the sun. I think that it just goes back to not pushing yourself too hard, because a lot of times it does bring a lot of extra responsibilities. Like it can kind of make life feel like kind of an endurance test, I guess you could say. Um, so yeah, it's just really about priorities. And kind of because what can happen is that life can kind of throw a lot at us, and um it kind of goes back to that message of not taking everything on, like having like lots of discernment about what you take on, what you don't take on, stuff like that, you know.
Okay.
And that's next year,
That you said
so
that's start. Yeah, that starts in March. You said.
yeah, so you got some time.
Okay.
But yeah, Saturn, it's not Pluto. You passed the Pluto, so
Okay.
that's good.
Good.
And then right now, ooh, that's interesting. So natally, obviously, you have Uranus conjunct Mercury, right?
Yeah.
So right now, and this goes until, let's see, next May, you have Uranus square. So it's moved, now it's squaring your Mercury. Um, so it's interesting. It can make things, the fact that you have it natally makes it a lot easier, but it can make things, I mean, I think it's pretty magical, honestly, but sometimes the mind can work very, very fast, you know, and like be taking on too, like so much, you know, so many downloads, so much you know, energy. And
Like an anxiety type of energy.
it can be like that.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, like yeah, it's like, yeah, it's just very, very important to stay kind of, I guess, stay grounded when that happens,
Okay.
when
Yeah.
yeah,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
yeah. um but yeah, like I said, you have it, it definitely stimulates thinking. It's like that spark. There can be like, lots of new interests and stuff. um but yeah, it's just about not, because yeah, it can just cause confusion if too much is taken on. um And yeah, there can be like some people who had this, they can become a little bit impulsive, changing people. One thing is that people can kind of change their minds a lot about like opinion changes about different things a good amount, you know?
Yeah.
What else? Yeah, so it's just important to like understand different points of view, really hear people out. Sometimes people, when they have that square, their ideas and their opinions can get challenged by others. So, yeah, it's just but the fact that just that you have this natally means that it's not an energy that's unknown to you. It's something that you get, you naturally understand it. You have this already.
Okay.
So yeah, I would say just like really not good for like impulsive decision making, really kind of taking time with decisions. And also sometimes, yeah, like the mind can just be working so quickly, so concentration can be a little difficult. So just like being grounded is really important, I think. And also just being open to new ideas. Um, and yeah, I think overall I wouldn't be afraid of that one because I think that it's something you have natally already.
Okay.
But yeah, one of the themes of next year is like, because you have progressive moon square Mercury too, is just like there can be some, just like communications with other people can be there can be some difficulties that can come up. And like kind of this frustration that we kind of talked about, right? About like, why can't you get it? That kind of energy.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, it's really kind of pushes one to be very like Libra, like lean into that Libra rising, that diplomatic side. But yeah, it is a really good time for, for starting something that kind of challenges you intellectually. Um,
Okay.
Anything that kind of requires that mental agility, concentration, any kind of course, it's very, very good for that. So
Okay.
yeah, but watch out for arguments. And let's
Okay.
see. And look at that. So I was speaking of like amazing transits. Well, you have maybe, I'm not gonna say the best transit, but I don't know how much better it gets than Jupiter trine Venus, and that's right now until February. Um, like that just brings, I mean, those are like the two benefic planets, right? So to have them in a trine, which is like a good, it's a
Mm-hmm.
beautiful flowing energy together. It's like lucky in love, lucky with money, lucky, it's very good for finance, it's very good for romance, very good for just social life. Um, but a lot of people like have like big like good financial things that happen to them when that happens. Lots of like expansion and like in the love life, and in Venus rules love, it rules it's also makes us like our aura very, Jupiter trine Venus is like your aura is just like very bright, very large, very very optimistic. It's one of the best. I mean, I like to think of times where I've had these transits, and I can tell you like it's just it's just a feel good. And when you combine that with Jupiter sextile moon, it's just like those two amazing. So it's a really
All
nice
right.
nice pocket. Now there is one tough one. Let's see. When did it start though? So this one's been going for a minute and finishes in February. Saturn opposite Mars. I feel like with this one, sometimes it feels like you're trying to move forward, and like there's things that kind of like are like, I always call them boulders in front of your path. And they can lead to, sometimes it's frustration because you're just like, I just want to go, I just want to go. But it's all about, just like the reassessment of goals, of ambitions, seeing any obstacles that come up as karmic. It really pushes people to become very patient, very zen. Um, I always like to talk about like people who are like very like unevolved or whatever you want to say, who don't like necessarily know their astrology or whatever, right? Who have this type of transit, it can feel very like very annoying and frustrating because they're just trying to go, 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 and then something just like pushes them back. But you know, it definitely makes one, it pushes one towards like, that more, yeah, a lot of realism when it comes to goals. Oh, here comes Esme. You want to help?
Oh, hi, Esme.
You here to help me? Yeah? Okay, she said yes. So let's not waste this opportunity. Okay, Esme, I'll give you one chance. Come on. Look at the natal chart and tell me something important. She stared right at your Cancer. Oh, good job, Esme. She stared right at your Cancer moon on the midheaven.
Okay,
And she
cool.
looked,
Yeah,
and
that's a
then
big one.
she looked to the sky. So,
Oh,
yeah, with her nose.
nice. Thanks, Esme.
Here's Esme.
Yes,
Gets me out
you're
of
very
here.
wise, cat. Yeah, she is. Wise cat.
Say thank you, Esme. No? Esme? Okay, she gave you a little squeak.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I guess if we want to, yeah, I mean, she's just, I think, reaffirming like the importance of, yeah, that emotional connection to what you're doing, and just also, I think she's not getting her cat hair all over me. Um, she's also saying that, that thing I said earlier about how if you ever do anything public, you'll be really liked. Moon on midheaven is a blessing for that. So thanks, Esme. Good job.
Thanks, Esme.
She's like, I do all the work. I do all the work. You did one thing, Esme. Don't be so arrogant. Swear. Okay, I'll pet you. Okay, your hair all over me. Yeah, so Saturn opposite Mars. Yeah, just like, yeah, I can just feel, yeah, kind of like people, yeah, it's just all about patience. A lot of people can have like the angry outbursts when things don't go their way, um, and just frustration. But like, and also overworking. It goes back to that theme too about how with Saturn in your sixth, how that can kind of like health stuff can come up if one is like overworking and not like using their energy properly. So yeah, it's also quite
Okay.
psychosomatic also. So yeah, just like really like how like it's about like how you conserve your energy and use it for the things that really matter. So I think you have that unlocked though.
Okay.
And also, wow, look at that. And then to cap it off, Jupiter trine Mars. So even though you have that difficult one, you have Jupiter, which is counteracting that, and it's like the same timing. Um, and I mean that's your third really like good Jupiter transit going on, right? I mean, I guess it starts in December. No, it's already started. So it's been going for the past 2 months. And that's, yeah, that kind of actually counteracts that difficult Saturn energy. And it creates lots of confidence, lots of optimism when it comes to like meeting your goals. And lots of good luck. So it's kind of like the Saturn is "Rah," and Jupiter's like "Rah." So yeah, it gives a lot of energy. And you have that natally together also. So um yeah, it kind of makes like challenges fun. And I think it's a great time to start anything. And I think with the kind of totality of all this, you're able to really, really do a lot right now. But then
All
there's
right.
also, yeah. And then also you have Jupiter trine Jupiter. So another, like, you have so many Jupiter transits right now. It's insane. Um, like unbelievable. So, Jupiter trine natal Jupiter, so it's just another one that gives lots of luck, lots of good fortune. Um, it's a feel good, optimistic energy. And when you have 4 Jupiter transits at once, like that's something. That's like a great time for traveling, a great time for new adventures, for new learning. It's the way I'm seeing all this astrology, like big picture, is like you've passed a lot of really difficult transits, and now it's a time for you to be able to chill, for you to be able to do what you want to do. And Jupiter, like when you're under the influence of Jupiter, life just feels happy. I don't know how else to say it. Like things just feel abundant. Things come to you. You manifest things easy, and it's really great.
All right, awesome.
Yeah.
Good news.
Yeah, and then I guess the last one, hair is all over me. Need to use this more. Do it later. Yeah, so then you also, so everyone goes through, these transits. So you have your Uranus opposition. Um, everyone goes through it at the same age. So for you, it started um in July of this year. And yeah, just recently. And it's kind of, so people call this like the midlife crisis one. And the
Oh,
reason,
I've already done that.
yeah. So the reason people, so basically the way I break down Uranus opposite Uranus, it's this. We live in a society right now where a lot of people are not doing what they want to do, you know?
Yeah.
And also a lot of people like skip through, let's say their 20s, or like they just work. And then they get to this, 40, 42, this range, and all these, the midlife crisis transits hit, as they're called. And for Uranus, it's like if you are living in your truth, if you are living with freedom, you have freedom in your life, then there's nothing wrong with it. But it definitely does push someone to want to individuate and find what's truly theirs. So you could see how different this would be for someone who, say, is like unhappy in their corporate job, um, and this hits. It's like the whole, like, I think in movies, like the dad who like divorces the mom and goes and buys a sports car, that whole like cliche, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it really is about just kind of, you know, the questions of, am I really doing what I want to be doing? Is my life have freedom? These types of things. Is the direction I'm going really in line with, my true heart, my true desires? So yeah, people give this one a bad name, but for me, I think it's just a cosmic wake up call and kind of a cosmic test. And if you're, aligned and headed, in the direction that's, correct for you, then, you know, there's nothing bad.
Okay, cool. And that's now?
Yeah, your Uranus opposition just started. Just started.
Oh, that's right. You just said last month. Okay.
Yeah, because it really is, yeah, time for. Also, yeah, it can be very spiritual too. Like it's just like a readjustment, but it sounds like you've really like kind of been questioning these things,
Yeah.
and yeah, it usually does lead. A lot of people will have like a career change. It's that push towards fulfillment. So,
Yes. How long does
and
that last?
so it goes for about a year. Like,
Okay.
yeah, and it really is like, yeah, I think fulfillment's a good word, because it's like people can live up until that Uranus opposition. If by their Saturn return, they didn't align, with what they're really trying to do. The Uranus opposition, I think, what's cool about it is that it definitely brings kind of a youthful energy. It makes the people who go through that, they want to kind of try new things, get out of their routine. But it really does come down to meaning, you know? So as I said before, like for people who are living kind of life on repeat in a way that is meaningless to them, that's a lot of
Mhm.
times where they want to make a big change and yeah, and feel liberated. That's ultimately what it's about. So
Okay.
yeah, let me see. So that's not happening yet. Do. Mm, talked about that. Talked about that. Let's see who's the nodes. Mhm. I think that's for everyone. Chiron transit. Okay, yeah, it's for everyone. Yeah, so there's this energy like with Saturn being on your south node. Like it kind of goes back to what I was saying about that first Saturn return or the solar return you're on now, where it's like things that used to really obstacles that used to really stand in your way and really bother you, they become less powerful. They lose their power, and
Okay.
it really is a time like a karmic time, right? Where like
All
Saturn
right.
is the planet of karma. So if you're living in line with that, you yeah, like different people are gonna feel it differently. But for people who are living good and who are doing what they're supposed to be doing, it's like you get like kind of this karmic payback, good or bad, right? Like the time to reap and a time to sow, as they say.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah,
Well, Val, thank you so much. You are just so full of knowledge, and I find it so interesting, and you're also just so accurate, just spot on with all this stuff. So very affirming in a lot of areas of life, which is always nice when you feel
yeah,
affirmation from other people. So thank you very much for that. I
definitely.
really
And
appreciate it. Yeah.
and just remember, you have so much Jupiter. You even have Jupiter sextile your midheaven, so that's like energy for career, like positive energy.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's like I just saw that. That was like the last one that popped up. It's like,
All
yeah,
right.
Jupiter sextile, and that's right now. And yeah, so it's like nonstop Jupiter like energy, right? So it's like doors opening professionally. So anything that kind of opens itself up naturally for you right now, um, I'd really look at it because you know,
Okay.
it's Jupiter time for you. So you've been through the rough and now it's time to feel the good.
All right. I'm down for it. Okay. Well, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate all of your time.
Yeah, thank you. It was awesome. And yeah,
Okay.
let me know if any questions come up. And I will send you the recording is obviously a private video, so you can watch it whenever you want. And thank you, thank you, thank you. And Esme
Thank
says
you. Thank you so much, Esme. You're such a talented astrology cat.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, it looks like it's night there, so have a good rest of your evening. I'll see you on Instagram.
Thank you so much. All right, talk to you later.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.